Welcome to ABC Grandstand's coverage of Super Netball.
Another headline event taking place in Australia's caretaker sporting capital of Brisbane. Today, it's the showpiece fixture of Australia's domestic netball competition, the Super Netball Grand Final. And it is a privilege to welcome you inside Brisbane Arena and bring it all to you via the services of ABC Grandstand. My name is Brett Sprigg, and this promises to be a belter. After a revised schedule, 14 qualifying rounds plus finals over the past 10 weeks, all in Queensland. Leading into our final series, we've got the best team all year, the minor premiers, the Melbourne Vixens, into their first decider since 2014 and their first in the Super Netball era, up against the form team of the competition, the West Coast Fever, who haven't lost in 9 of their 10 most recent games, including 2 dominant finals displays, and it only serves to make this grand final all the more intriguing. Alongside me in commentary, a pleasure to welcome captain of the Queensland Firebirds and current Australian Diamond, Gabby Simpson. Welcome to you, Gabby. It genuinely feels like we've got the two best sides out there today.
It really is the two best sides. I mean, if you look over the season, Vixens have been completely consistent from the very start to the very end, and then you've got Fever, who have just built brilliantly towards the back end of the season. So, I mean, I can't pick it yet. I haven't worked out who I'm going to tip. I've been asked so many times.
This is a special feeling, isn't it? I mean, you've played in these big finals, crowd filing in. It'll be a revised number, of course, because of the protocols in place. We'll have between 2,000 and 2,500 in the building, can hold twice that. It'll be a loud crowd. There are green shirts for the Fever. There are plenty of those teal and purple scarves around the place for the Vixens fans. There is something so special before a grand final, isn't there?
Absolutely. And it wasn't until I walked into the room today that I really felt the goosebumps that a grand final brings. I mean, taking myself back to a couple of them that I've been a part of, the nerves that you feel before you're about to start, the extra buzz with all the lightings and the performances, it really takes the game to another level, and it's something that is just so special to be a part of.
Before we pick it all apart in our preview, and the first centre pass is about 20 or so minutes away, I think right across our winter codes, we get to this point and a champion will be crowned. But to simply look back on the challenging year and the fact that we've had a season, forever the record books, it feels like an achievement in itself that we've just got this far. And it's a credit to everyone, Gabby, that are involved in the sport to make this season happen.
Yeah, it's been huge. I mean, if you look back 5 months, we thought that there may not be a season. We're all at home in lockdown, not knowing if we're even going to be able to play and train together again. So the efforts that have been put in to make sure that this season got underway. Initially, we were going to have a full season, and then it got broken down into a condensed season, and then we ended up in a hub. People have left their homes, left their families, their partners, their pets. I know Joe Weston was extremely hurt about having to leave Billy behind, all just to make sure this competition got underway. And we're just incredibly grateful that people have gone to all this effort. I mean, every single person, Netball Queensland staff have gone from potentially hosting no games to hosting every single game in the competition. It's been huge. It's an incredible operation, and I'm sure it's been challenging for everyone, including the local teams. But the fact that, as you said, we have 2 of these teams from different corners of the country. WA has a hard border, which accentuates the feeling of isolation that native sandgropers might feel in terms of the distance from home. And, of course, Victoria. And their coach, Simone McInnes, spoke about this during the week, doing it for Victoria, giving sports fans in Melbourne something to smile about. That's what it's all about for them. We heard earlier this morning, Daniel Andrews, the Premier, speaking about restrictions being eased, which is a nice step forward for them. But it's an extra layer of pride that these players have to represent Victoria. Yeah, absolutely. And you can feel it in the way they speak about Victoria. They speak about their family, their friends, people that they don't know in Melbourne, and how hard it has been for them. I don't think being in Queensland right now, we can ever comprehend exactly how hard it has been for them to go into a second lockdown. And, I mean, it's phenomenal that these girls have been given the opportunity to bring smiles to those people's faces. And so much of you has this little bit in your heart that says it'll be fantastic if Vixens get across the line. Some of the key team news here has been for the Vixens and Kate Eddy, who was suffering a foot injury. She was racing the clock to be declared fit for this game. She missed last year's grand final too. New South Wales Swifts, she was playing for them. They won the title. She is in. So
She is in the team today, and we are contending, of course, with the pre-game entertainment, so it's great to have the crowd filing in and all the atmosphere of a grand final, but I'll try and do my best to just hurry on through our pre-game coverage with the first centre pass about 20 minutes away. So the team lineups, and I'll take the floor shortly for their second warm-up. It looked like this. Mike Wenda will be goal shooter, starting GS for the Melbourne Vixens. Caitlin Thwaites at GA in her last game. Liz Watson wing attack. Kate Maloney, her fellow co-captain at centre. Kate Eddy lining up at wing defence. Ali Smith did a tremendous job stepping into the starting 7 for Kate Eddy, but Kate Eddy takes her place back in the team. Jo Weston at goal defence, and GK is Emily Mannix. The bench, Taylor Honey, Elle McDonald, Tegan Phillip also retiring. Katie Anderhaney, the Jamaican international. Loud applause for our entertainment as well, which is fantastic. Things getting underway, not too far away. The West Coast Fever, unchanged from that victorious team in their first semi and prelim. Janelle Fowler at goal shooter. Alice Teague Neal at GA. Wing attack Emma Kosh. Centre Verity Charles. Wing defence Jess Anstis. GD Stacey Francis. GK Courtney Bruce, their captain. And of course their bench. Courtney Kruder, Sunday Ariang, Shannon Eagland, Olivia Lewis, Kaylia Stanton. The road to this point. The Vixens won 8 of their first 9 games. They were on top for basically the entire season. Finished 11 wins, 2 losses and 1 draw, which was incidentally against the Fever. They had the minor premiership wrapped up in around 12. They breezed through their major semi-final as well against the Lightning, 63-47. They've had the week off. The West Coast Fever, 8 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw, finishing 3rd on the regular season. The turning point for them, Gabby, they looked off it after that loss to the Firebirds in round 11. They went unbeaten through their next 7 games, lost the final round game to the Thunderbirds by 1, and then 2 commanding performances in the finals to make it back into the grand final. You speak about turning points on a year. Did they look like a team that could have got this far?
I think at the start of the season, you look at the lineup of the Fever with the goal shooter, Janelle Fowler, and also you've got goalkeeper Courtney Bruce. And those 2 bookends are there's such strength for those 2, for this Fever team. And so you look at that lineup and you think, yes, absolutely, they can make a grand final. Courtney Bruce missed a few games early on in the year, and I think that played a big part in them looking a little bit shaky. The moment that she started getting back on court, having a bit more consistency in her game, the Fever just absolutely came to life, and now there's no question about it, they have every ability to win this game.
The Vixens are the first team out onto Brisbane Arena. The amount of talent in this game for a grand final across the teams, you've got more than a dozen players with international experience, either for the Diamonds or other nations. 4 of last year's All-Star 7 spread across the 2 teams. Fowler, Watson, Maloney and Mannix. The Vixens, who last won the title in the old Trans-Tasman competition in 2014, still have Watson, Maloney, Weston and Phillip from that team. The Fever were last in a grand final in 2018, the second year of the Super Netball competition. They were beaten on that occasion by the Sunshine Coast Lightning at Perth Arena, and 5 of the starting 7 are out there tonight. Fowler, Charles, Anstis, Francis and Courtney Bruce. In an ideal world, they would have Ingrid Collier, if not for the fact she suffered the ACL last month. So the nucleus of that team that was beaten in the grand final 2 years ago, still very much the same.
Yes, absolutely. And that grand final, I know for them, it hurt them to lose that, but also it was a huge step for their club to be able to take it, get themselves into their very first grand final, and I know that they were just so incredibly proud of that. Last year, having missed out on that grand final opportunity hurt them. So I think the experience that they gained from 2 years ago is going to be huge today, and also that burning desire to get the win. They want to go one better.
The girls from WA have emerged from the rooms. The West Coast Fever out on the floor. The Vixens well and truly into their warm-up in front of us at the left-hand side of Brisbane Arena. Janelle Fowler. In some ways, Gabby, she's getting better. She's added more agility to her game, and I suppose that's just part of how the sport innovates and evolves. The players have to adapt with it. That is one tantalising matchup, Fowler and Emily Mannix.
huge matchup. I think that could be one of the matchups that win it. Whoever gets on top in that matchup will be huge. I think, you know, when you're up against a Janelle Fowler, she's always going to score goals. And the other great thing that she's grown into her game is her huge amount of leadership that she has out on there. She really looks after her centre court, and also Alice Teague-Neal there. But Emily Mannix has had some absolute ripper games. She's taken intercepts outside the circle. She's got some good air to get up to the balls to Janelle. So I'm excited to see that one unfold.
Brett Sprigg alongside Gabby Simpson, Aussie Diamond and Queensland Firebirds captain here on Grandstand Netball for coverage of this Super Netball Grand Final. Getting underway very shortly, but your texts are welcome. 0437 774 774. We have a big audience right across Victoria, Western Australia, Tasmania, and of course you can find us as well via the ABC Listen app for coverage of this game. Should be an absolute ripper. And Melbourne's defence stacks up so well. Best defence all year, average of 55 points against. How does it work at the other end? Caitlin Thwaites and Mawai Kamwenda up against the class international defence of the West Coast Fever, Courtney Bruce and Stacey Francis. How do you see that battle going?
Yeah, I mean, one of the beautiful things about the Vixens lineup is they've got three incredibly strong shooters that not only shoot from close to the post, but they can all shoot two-pointers. So when you're coming up against a team like that, it's so hard to just focus on one player or shut one player out. You've got to be right across all three. Fever, though, Courtney Bruce has been playing incredible netball. She's their barometer. If Courtney is on, the team will do fantastically. And Stacey Francis has been brilliant as well. Her role, the dynamicness between Courtney and Stacey. Stacey allows Courtney to be able to go out, have a fly at the balls outside the circle because Stacey's got her back to protect the post and anything else that's coming in. So, yes, Vixens have two very strong shooters consistently in that circle, but Fever have a very dynamic defence line that can definitely shut down that. And their other thing is that they win ball. Fever go out and they try and win ball, whereas if you contrast to the Vixens style of defence, they grind it out. They're less the flying intercepts. They more force mistakes and force errors out of the opposition. And
that's where it's going to be won and lost. I know it's a cliche, but the mid-court battle and how you get repeat possession, how you get those turnovers, it is the hallmark of a great team. And the extra pressure that comes with a grand final. It's up to, I guess, whichever team can absorb that pressure quicker.
Yes, absolutely. The moment you step out on court in a grand final, you're experiencing so many nerves and so much adrenaline that you almost have to expect a few mistakes are going to come early. And it's about who isn't rattled by that, who can step up and just roll with the punches. And then towards the end of the game, it's who's going to put their hand up and say, I want this ball, I want to win this game.
Always plenty of sentimentality and emotion around a grand final. But the retirements here for the Melbourne Vixens. Caitlin Thwaites, 55 Australian caps. She began her career in 2002 with the Melbourne Kestrels as a 16-year-old. Gold medals at the Com Games and World Cup. Stints with the Central Pulse and New South Wales Swifts. She won MVPs with each of them. She began the Super Netball era with Collingwood, where she led the scoring for the league and was best and fairest in their first year in 2017. This would be an extraordinary way to finish off an amazing career.
Yeah, absolutely. Katie Thwaites is not only an amazing netballer, but she's a phenomenal human. And I know that the girls in the team will want to be playing for her, and Tegan as well. Like, the way that Tegan's hard work is what she's based her whole game off, and the way that she really looks after her teammates too. It's going to be incredible. I love Caitlin Thwaites in the sense that in her final year of netball, she's played a whole new position, and she's probably played at one of the best in the whole competition. It's been really cool to see unfold.
And just on Tegan, a one-club player. No player has played more games in that Vixens dress. I mean, she got a big break in 2011 when an ankle injury sidelined Cheryl McMahon, and she's also risen to the highest level. 14 caps for the Diamonds. Just strikes me as one of those very likeable players.
Absolutely. She's a heart of gold, girl from Geelong, just so caring for her teammates. But as I said, it's her hard work that makes her absolutely phenomenal. Her speed when she's out on court, and just, I guess, the determination you see in her face when she's playing. Like, she has players taller than her. She's quite a small goal attack. And she has, I guess, that little bit of underdog status as a shorter player. So she's had to work incredibly hard to get to where she is, and she's grabbed every opportunity. And just a brilliant teammate.
Counting down to about 9.5 minutes time for the first centre pass. Melbourne Vixens, West Coast Fever. The Super Netball Grand Final via the services of ABC Grandstand. Brett Sprigg alongside Gabby Simpson to call it. We'll check in with Zane Bojack, who's on the sideline very shortly. To focus on the Fever, no Ingrid Collier did her ACL last month against your team, the Firebirds. They've uncovered some great young talent, haven't they? Courtney Kruder only debuted last week in the prelim. She had a phenomenal game. Emma Kosh debuted back in round 6. She was a GA primarily. She's 27 years of age. Still doesn't have a full-time contract. She's still technically a training partner with the Fever, but she shuffled in to play wing attack in the absence of Ingrid Collier, and last week she was probably the MVP of that game. I mean, the depth is so important for both teams, isn't it? Yeah,
it's huge. It's been one of the great things about this season. Having moved into a hub, we've been able to expand our teams from 10 to 12 players, and that's given so many opportunities for young Australian players that are up and coming. And this Fever side, Emma Kosh, the way she stepped into that role, it is not an easy thing to just step up in a semi-final and play a brilliant game of netball where you're MVP, particularly against a team like the Sunshine Coast Lightning. So super impressive the way that she's gone about her business. And I guess from a young player's perspective, you have this sense of fearlessness. Yeah. You're going out, you've got nothing to lose. Except in a grand final, you have a grand final.
Absolutely. To lose. And there is also as well for the Vixens that burden of expectation. When you are so strong all year, minor premiers, had it locked up nice and early, but we just expect them to waltz their way to the premiership. Of course, nothing is given, everything is earned. Does that play on their minds, do you think?
Well, I think it's a really interesting one. Playing a season where you are undefeated or where you are consistently winning, you can accidentally slip into a sense of complacency, and that's not, you don't actually think it, but it just kind of can happen. I think one of the best things that's happened for the Vixens this season is their loss to us at the Firebirds a few weeks ago. Yep. If you are cruising along and you're winning games easily, sometimes you need that shock to really spark you into, okay, we can't just rock up to games, not that they were. They need to make sure they put every ounce of their being into making sure they're on fire for each game. And I don't think you'll see any complacency from these ladies.
I'll tell you what, you turn around, and we've been sitting here chatting away for a little while now. You turn around and all of a sudden the crowd is filling up behind us. It really does feel like a special day, a grand final day here on ABC Grandstand Netball. The other storyline here, Gabby, the coaches. Simone McInnes missed out on the Diamonds head coaching role. Stacey Marinkovic got it. And while Simone McInnes may feel like she has a point to prove, the reality is a lot of people question the appointment of Marinkovic. So in some respects, it's all in front of her. If she can lead this underdog team to a grand final win, it would be really quite something.
It really would, and I think you saw a really big turnaround in the Fever's game around the time that Stacey was announced as coach. Whether that was related or not, that goes to be seen, but I think it's a really cool little thing that did unfold at the same time. And at that stage, Stacey was being questioned for not having won games, Then you see this team lift. If they were able to take this game, that would be a huge storyline in itself.
Yeah.
Simone McInnes has been an incredible coach for the Vixens for so many years. She has won a premiership in the previous league. But she's got a well-drilled team. You cannot question Simone McInnes' coaching. The consistency of the Vixens, the way that she's developed some pretty phenomenal Australian athletes as well. You've got two fantastic coaches that are battling it out today.
Head-to-head form this year. They've met on 2 previous occasions. Round 5 here at Brisbane Arena, the Vixens beat the Fever 68-59. And then round 10 at this venue, it was a 63-all draw. So that is perhaps the best indicator you can possibly have as far as how hard fought this will be. The last time they met was a draw. Who takes it home here today? And in the process, who will be crowned Super Netball champion? 0437 774 774. Class teams punish you on the turnover, and netball is all about creating that turnover, isn't it, Gabby? Getting repeat possession. Will the Fever be able to absorb the pressure that will come from this Vixens team?
Well, that's yet to be seen, isn't it? One of the biggest turning points that I notice in the Fever's game when they have taken their game to another level is their ability to increase their work rate in attack. Their centre corners, Verity in particular, has really increased her work rate and has become a lot more patient in the way that they move the ball. They're not just getting the ball and throwing it straight into Fowler. They're happy to work it around. Alice Teague-Neal has played a really big role there. So I suggest they will be able to absorb the pressure early on. The question will be in that last quarter. Fever have had a couple of, I guess, less successful last quarters. They haven't had to really grind out a full game over the last couple of weeks. So I think that last quarter will be really telling.
Hello to Matt, who's listening in Medora Bay in Western Australia. West Coast Fever for me, either Bruce, Charles or Fowler, player of the game. From you, Matt, thank you very much. 0437 774 774. Brett Sprigg alongside Gabby Simpson. We'll get to Zane Bojack very shortly. And because of that mid-court battle, do you expect we'll see the Fever reshuffle their mid-court a little bit and inject a little more defence into that centre third, which will really enhance a few of those matchups over the floor?
Well, I mean, their move where they moved Jess Anstis into the centre has worked quite effectively this season, but I don't think they'll make that change unless they absolutely need it. I'll be interested to see how it does unfold there. But, I mean, the way that Jess Anstis plays is just a really strong, dogged, grinding type game where she'll just work her wing attack or work her centre into the ground. So if they do need that extra defensive pressure through the court, it's quite an easy shift, you know, Verity into wing attack and Jess into centre. And then, the Fever's defence line, it's very versatile. Yep. They can move someone out into wing defence there.
So much of the time we talk about the grace and flow of a sport like netball. When the good teams move the ball and are slick with their possession, it can be great to watch. A grand final can be different, equally great to watch, but there is an inherent scramble and pressure that comes with it, isn't it? And it's about who makes fewer of those mistakes and who can capitalise most on their opposition's errors in the process. The teams are lining up. We're not too far away. The Vixens on the left-hand side of the floor. The West Coast Fever, led by Courtney Bruce. She calls her team over and they will line up arm in arm. We'll have the Welcome to Country and the National Anthem very, very shortly. Special moments prior to a grand final.
Georgina Sully-Beals, Nathan Bailey and Bronwyn Adams.
Yawanyambali. Hello, everybody. Nali Dagu.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the teams to the court as we prepare for the Welcome to Country and the Australian National Anthem.
Yawanyambali. Hello, everybody. Nyali Dagu Yagarajarana, Nissan Stadium, Nyagara Country. We meet here today at Nissan Stadium and I'm here to do the Welcome to Country. Morton Yagara Nya, Kwandamuka Nya, Gamingan Nyajanya. I am an elder of the Gurunpul Yagara Kwandamuka peoples. Nyali ba Jandaval Nya Gurunpul Nya Cherengari Jara. Naja Doubleban Nya Warrel. We are saltwater, freshwater people and my country is Cherengari and the mainland Yagara, which goes through to the southwest to the Darling Downs, to the Great Divide before the Darling Downs, comes down towards the Logan, to the coast, to Cherengari, Stradbroke Island, one of the groups of Kwandamuka, up to the Pine Rivers, and it curls back around to the Waka Waka country. I want to thank Suncorp Super Netball for their cultural respect, having a Welcome to Country. It's one of our Guri laws done at our gatherings and our sporting tournaments for over 65,000 years. I give honour to my Yugrabal ancestors, my ancient custodians. I pay respect to elders past and present. Nyambali, Nurubu, be blessed, be welcome, Yagara Jarana on Yagara Country.
Thank you, Arnie Kerry, and ladies and gentlemen.
With the Welcome to Country on Yagara Country here at Brisbane Arena. tradition. Ellen Reid, the national anthem. The atmosphere is immense, and someone who is always right in the thick of it for us on grandstand is Zane Bojak. Welcome to you, Zano.
Oh, thank you very much, Brett. Hello, Gabby. Hopefully we get a great game. These two produced a draw last time round. Talking in the crowd, because I'm very close to them on the sideline on the far side to you guys, can tell you that they're a bit anxious. They don't really know who's going to win this one. You've got the side who's been the best all year, and the Vixens up against the form team at the moment. And, of course, they're all neutrals. They're all Queenslanders come to support this game, and of course there's nothing better than getting two teams that are hot at this end of the tournament. All I can say is if they double team Janelle Fowler, there's a possibility that the pressure could come on Teague Neal. I wonder, Gabby, if that's the strategy for the Melbourne Vixens.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what they do with that. If you double Janelle, you've seen Alice Teague-Neal really handle that pressure quite well.
Give us the last word, Gabby. Who wins?
Oh, let's go Vixens with a super shot.
They get the first centre pass here to Fever. Charles gives it away, gets it back here. Feeds the ball in now for Fowler under the post, and the Fever are on the board first. 1-0. They bring it back quickly here. Kate Maloney, the centre pass here for the Vixens. Spots up Watson, gets it back now. They trade passes again across the floor. It comes back to the left-hand side here. Maloney on that 45. Shares it back here to Thwaites. Back inside the centre third for Western. We're coming back here for some off-ball contact. So Watson sets it up. Feeds it in low for Thwaites. She lines it up from mid-range. Gets some contact from Bruce. Steps in a little closer. And it's 1-1. Super Netball Grand Final, Brett Sprigg, Gabby Simpson, Zane Bojak with you right across Australia and beyond on ABC Grandstand. Anstis here, the ball carrier, receiving some undue contact, so he takes free pass from the centre third. Francis. Now Teague-Neal lobs in the ball. Long one there for Janelle Fowler. Left-hand side of the post. Easy as you like. It's 2-1 the Fever.
What we're seeing here is a lot of pressure from these goal defenders. They're not leaving their goal attack just to go about their business.
Maloney almost tipped away by Charles. Good desperation from the Fever early on, but we come back here for a Vixens ball. And it comes from Weston to Watson, and it's a little untoward now. A little wide of Caitlin Thwaites. No better infringement there from Francis. So we'll come back here for a Vixens ball. Pass gets fed into Caitlin Thwaites, right-hand side of the post, and she pops it in as well. So it's 2-2. And a couple of minutes inside this opening term here. Super Netball Grand Final, ABC Grandstand. Charles, deep in the corner. Had Maloney for company, gets it back here. Does the experienced Fever mid-quarter. Feeds in that ball to Teague-Neal. Lines up the shot here. It's swatted away by Weston. She'll have it back here, Teague-Neal. Right on the baseline. Oh, great accuracy early. West Coast Fever 3, Melbourne Vixens 2. Back here from Maloney from the centre pass. Comes to the right-hand side. Thwaites lobs it in again. Maloney did well to get there. Stops, assesses the options. Comes back inside centre third here to Weston. Lob pass cross floor. Watson, a long ball up top here for Kumwenda. Bruce standing guard here with contact, so she will stand aside. Back in the lap of Kumwenda. Right-hand side of the post. Makes it 3-all.
The contest pressure is incredible right now. Every single ball is being contested. No easy pass.
Fever centre pass. Charles. Teague-Neal. Comes back here for Anstis. He has it just forward of halfway. Charles again. Lobs in that ball for Fowler again. She beats Mannix. Receives it out wide. Lines up the shot and it rolls in. 4-3 West Coast Fever. Maloney brings it back to Liz Watson. What a great mid-court combo that is for the Melbourne Vixens. So successful all year, the two captains. Maloney shoved out of play that time by Francis. Receives free pass, comes inside for Caitlin Thwaites, and she bobs it in for one more as well. 4-all. A reminder, of course, for those uninitiated, we do have the Power 5 at the end of every quarter, so last 5 minutes, shots are worth 2 from that certain zone. Fowler here, it's knocked away from her. Great intercept that time. Mannix couldn't retrieve the ball though. Kosh here for the Fever comes up with it. Lobs a pass over the top, back to Teague-Neal. Fires it in here for Fowler. Right in front of the post. Weston gives away some contact, stands aside, and Fowler pops it in. Fever 5, Vixens 4.
That's been the second lob that's come off short there, so there's clearly some nerves going on.
Oh, and now Caitlin Thwaites has lost it from the centre pass. Out over the sideline. Fever ball. They get possession back again. Both sides looking to settle. Anstis, frantic pass off to Francis. Teague Neal to Kosh. Centre of the court here, comes to the right-hand side now. Anstis, it was messy for Francis. Thwaites was bursting through, but she's infringing, so Teague Neal receives it now. Finds Fowler, again she beats Mannix. Right-hand side of the post, no real range to worry about there, and the Fever are out by 2.
Mannix is getting close to a couple of these.
West Coast 6, Melbourne 4. Here on ABC Grandstand, coverage of this 2020 Super Netball Grand Final. Here's Verity Charles. Oh, it's tipped away. Great work from Maloney. No.
Oh, that's tough. Maloney not happy with that call, and I think, look, it's definitely some arguments
Gosh,
there.
up the top here, Fowler through the air. Did so well, lines up the shot, and that will be a lead by 3 to the West Coast Fever. 7-4 it is, 10 to go in the opening turn. Maloney from the Vixens centre pass to Thwaites. Watson inside the attacking third. From Wenda, the left-hand side, lobs it back inside the centre third now for Kate Eddy. She passed her fitness test. She's all good to go. Missed last year's grand final. From Wenda, this time beats Bruce. Right-hand side of the post, pops it in. 7-5. It's the Fever who still lead by 2. Away it comes from the centre pass. Charles a little 1-2 with Francis. Lobs it right across the floor to Anstis. Charles sends them forward. Teague Neal. 45-degree angle. Long way from home. Francis. Either side of that attacking third there. Now Teague Neal comes in for Fowler. Left-hand side of the post. She lines it up and in. So it's back to a lead of 3 the Fever's way. 8-5. Maloney. Put off to Eddie running by. Oh, it's knocked out of play. What's the call here, Gabby? We'll come back here for a
Courtney's first touch here. You can see that when they're looking into the goal shooter, they're not wanting to give that high ball just yet. They're building Thwaites into it, playing it short and front passes instead of going up and over Courtney Bruce.
Chain of passes here. Thwaites to Maloney. Comes right across the top for Kumwenda, who pops it in. Vixen 6, Fever 8. 8.5 to go in the opening period. Charles. Off to Kosh. Good composure. Only debuted in round 6 of this season. Only, I think, her 6th or something game of this season. Weston, it bounced off her shins. They get it back to Fever, though. Charles to Teague Neal. Long way out. Improves the angle and the distance here for Fowler.
Vixens just changed their defensive style. Then they went into more of a box space defence, so it allowed Joe Weston to back off and double on Fowler. We'll see if they do that one again, because they almost won a ball from it.
Watson bursts over the attacking transverse line now with Thwaites, slobs it over the top. Maloney deep in the corner. They want to find the best attacking option here. Oh, Anstis, great steal. Pass a little messy from Watson, but Anstis couldn't quite keep possession.
Life of a wing defence. You get a touch, you go offside. It's the other team's ball.
Yeah, just stumbled into the goal circle, so Thwaites has it. Top of the arc, fed it back off to Maloney. Francis on for some contact here. Thwaites lines it up directly in front, pops it in. Fever 9, Vixens 7, 7:25 to go here at the Super Netball Grand Final, the first turn. Your texts are welcome, 0437 774 774.
Another wall to a box going on here.
Stacey Francis up the right-hand side. Lobs it back in here. Charles goes long for Fowler up against the post. Almost sandwiched between the post and Joe Weston, but Fowler makes good the shot. 10-7 the Fever lead. Hasn't gone beyond 3 all game so far, but they would feel comfortable where they sit right now, the West Coast Fever. Vixens try to surge forward of halfway. Attacking side of the transverse line, Watson will have possession here for the Vixens. Comes out wide to Kate Maloney, assessing the options. Back inside the centre third, Weston, they start again here. Maloney to Watson, Kumwenda, outside of the goal circle, comes back to Watson again. Thwaites receives it out wide, needs the option. They have to get there and switch through Maloney. She controls it well, feeds it off towards Thwaites in close, lines it up from long range and pops it in. 10-8. The Fever lead the Vixens, 6:15 to go in the opening turn. Fever bring it away. Teague Neal fires in the pass. Fowler receives it out wide. Comes back to the left-hand side for Kosh. Little 1-2 here with Teague Neal. She lines up the shot. The West Coast Fever goal attack. And it's in.
That
accuracy on early, isn't it?
Absolutely. And you saw Mannix run out to try and fly at another ball, and Joe Weston protect her at the post to see if she can deceive that pass into Fowler.
Analysis from Aussie Diamond Gabby Simpson here on ABC Grandstand via the national broadcaster. It's knocked away here. It'll come back for a Vixens ball. 11 plays 8. The Fever by 3. Waits tried to find Kumwenda, and Courtney Bruce was involved.
So close. Just out of play.
Kumwenda, left-hand side of the post. No real trouble for her. 11-9. The Fever lead. 5:20 left. Approaching our first power 5 of the game. Fowler dummies the pass to Teague Neal. Gets it back to Charles. Receives it in. Gets it back to Fowler. She was all over it. And pops it in again here for the Fever. 12-9 the scoreline. 5 minutes, 7 seconds left. So power 5 coming up shortly. Vixens can take first advantage. Can they? Thwaites taking the side of the transverse line. There is our 5-minute warning to signal a power 5 underway. Shots worth 2 from that zone. Kumwenda steps inside the more conventional goal circle and is content with just the 1. 12-10 the Fever lead the Vixens.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if the Vixens take on these 2-point shots right now, being down by a couple.
And given the fact that the Fever haven't really been the kind of team to use the 2-point shot all that much, have they?
No, and the Vixens will need to be able to get on top of this game. I think that could be their greatest strength. But they're also very traditional in the way that they play, and they're fantastic at their 1-point netball. So we'll see.
Teague Neal misses. I don't think she was even in the super shot zone either. But we'll come back here for the obstruction. Fowler can make good for the West Coast Fever. 13 plays 10. The girls from the West lead. 4:10 to go in this opening term. Here's Kate Maloney. Back to Kate Eddy. Eddy, defensive side of the transverse line. Feeds it back off to Maloney. Inside the attacking third now. Watson. Oh, lobbed in. It was too deep for Kumwenda, who was jostling with Courtney Bruce, and the Fever get it back from their defensive baseline. Always tipped away by Thwaites. Francis maintains possession. Now we come back here. What's the call, Gabby?
I'm going to say that wasn't set. It's always a tough one. It just means you didn't take the pass.
Thwaites lines up and attempt the 2-point shot. It remains 13-10. Anstis all over it in defence, but another infringement. Coming back here the way of the Vixens. Thwaites lines up the 2-pointer.
Super shot.
13-12.
Thwaites' specialty.
They chip away at that margin. 3:25 left before quarter time. Charles this time beats Eddie to the ball. Fires in the pass for Fowler. Right-hand side of the post. Comes wide to the corner. Emma Kosh comes up wide. Fowler again wins it through the air. Mannix must stand aside. Fowler at the right-hand side of the court. Pops it in. Fever 12. Fever 14, I beg your pardon. Vixens 12. Waits to Maloney. They use the ball here frenetically, the Vixens. The mark of a good team. The reigning, or the minor premier, Kumwenda. In close, left-hand side. There it is again, 14-13. It's the 1-point shot that time. 2:50 left before quarter time. Now a bit of traffic around the centre pass. Francis will pick it up here after the infringement. Charles sets up inside the attacking third. Gets it back here from Francis. Goes finding Teague Neal. Emma Kosh out in the corner. Lobs in the ball for Fowler. She was really unmarked and will make no mistake from in close. 15-13, Fever by 2. 2:25 to go in this opening quarter. Western right-hand side of the court. Comes back across here for Eddie. She has Teague Neal for company. Centre third. Maloney comes back here for Eddie. Feeds it in close here for Liz Watson. Western. Looked like pass in from Maloney. There was some undue contact off the ball here. We'll come back for a Vixens possession. Watson top of the arc. Feeds it in for Kumwenda. They'll just chip away with a 1-point shot again. No, she's makes it count. 15-14, 1:45 to go before quarter time. Brett Sprigg alongside Gabby Simpson on ABC Grandstand right across Australia. Charles to Kosh of the West Coast Fever. Fowler receives it up top and pops it in. That's the kind roll. Makes it a 2-point game, 16-14.
The patience of both teams has been quite incredible. They're willing to work and work and work until they get that ball to the circle. Lizzie Watson at the forefront of that.
Watson to Thwaites. Back to Western. Watson sets up left-hand side. Now comes back to the right for Maloney. Puts herself in position, Watson. Right-hand side on the 45. Lobs it in for Kumwenda. Almost lost her footing. Retrieves the ball now. Sets up, hand in the face from Francis. Contact there. She stands aside. Kumwenda from the left-hand side. It's back to a margin of 1. Fever 16, Vixens 15. Minute left in the opening term. Teague Neal. Pass cross-court here for Francis. Still inside the middle of the court. Teague Neal now taking the side of the transverse line, left-hand side, comes to find Fowler. Back to Charles. She beats Maloney through the air. Charles sets up Teague Neal, little 1-2. From deep in the left-hand side, no. A little too long that time from Teague Neal, the super shot attempt. So, the Vixens can still get it back here. 32 seconds in the quarter. They trail by just 1. There's still a chance they go to the quarter time break leading. Maloney off to Eddie. Watson. Maloney back to Watson. Can they make it count here? Kumwenda receives it again. She beats Bruce. Maloney comes back outside. Can they improve the angle? Hand in there as well from one of the West Coast defenders. Thwaites. She is a long way out here for the 2-point shot. Misses right on the quarter time buzzer. And the West Coast Fever, who at one stage led by 3 in that opening term, they take a 16 points to 15 lead here at Brisbane Arena in the Super Netball Grand Final. Wherever you're listening, ABC Radio, Grandstand Digital and the ABC Listen app, this is Grandstand Netball.
The best Australian movies are yours to stream free on ABC iView.
You'll feel the magic.
A library of classic Australian film, including Two Hands, Strictly Ballroom, Jeddah, Lantana, and many more. All in one place, all ready to stream.
I just want to see everything and meet everyone.
The Australian Movie Collection is yours to stream free, now on ABC iView.
Grandstand.
ABC Grandstand.
Grandstand Netball.
On digital radio, this is ABC Grandstand Netball.
Yeah, coverage of the 2020 Super Netball Premiership this side of the West Coast Fever 16. Lead the Melbourne Vixens 15. Brett Sprigg alongside Zane Bojack on the sideline and Gabby Simpson. Give us your thoughts on the opening term as it transpired here at Brisbane Arena.
Brilliant. A brilliant first quarter in the sense that every single ball was contested. No one received an easy pass and there was no easy access to the circle edge. You saw both teams having to be extremely patient, work the ball for many, many passes before it went into that circle. And I think that patient type of netball from both teams kind of shows in that there was no intercepts in that quarter, I don't think. Really protective netball, making sure you keep that possession.
We'll get to a few stats shortly, but Zano, how did you see it from over there?
Well, I'm lucky enough to be privy to what Stacey Marinkovic is just telling her Fever side, and she's been talking about the fact that the Vixens have really clogged up the middle. She said going down that corridor is not working for us. We've got to try and work on the outside. So we know the Vixens are the toughest team defensively trying to break down. But it's interesting what Gabby pointed out there. There was 3 deflections by each side. No one able to pick up an intercept. That's not normally the Vixens' game anyway, but Joe Weston's been very active. So I just wonder if they might have actually tripped in to a way of shutting down Fowler. She's been able to shoot, but Teague Neal certainly at the back end of that quarter was forced to actually have a few more shots, wasn't she, Gab?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I really love about the Vixens in that quarter is that they went from that really tight man-on defence where they have really strong hands over, and then they moved into a space defence, which allowed players to kind of have more of a fly at the ball, and it put some more hesitancy into the way Fever were playing, and they almost got their balls and touches through that style of defence.
There are no flaws in the shooting as far as the one-point shots are concerned. So Kumwenda 8 of 8, Caitlin Thwaites 5 of 5, Janelle Fowler 14 of 14. So that's of the West Coast Fever's 16 to 15 lead. Alice Teague Neal has 2 from 2 as well, but a couple of misses from long range in that power zone, the last 5 minutes of each quarter. So 0 from 2 for Teague Neal, 1 of 3 for Caitlin Thwaites from deep, and the West Coast Fever yet to attempt a super shot as well. Your texts are welcome, 0437 774 774. Eliza and Isabel in Robinvale said, great to have netball on the radio. Heading home from a weekend away in the region bubble, New South Wales and Vic. Hopefully a close game, but we're on the Vixens. So appreciate your correspondence, wherever you're joining us, whether it's across WA, Victoria, Tasmania, or indeed via the ABC Listen app. It is fantastic to bring you the showpiece event of this year's Super Netball competition. So, who blinks first here, Gabby? I mean, it's a tight opening term as we've come to expect, and both teams have really settled in.
I think it'll be really interesting to see what happens now in terms of that patient netball that I mentioned. Will teams start to open up, start to let the ball go a bit more, get a bit more depth from the second pass, from the centre pass? That's going to be the most telling thing, I believe. You can't underestimate the work rate that has to happen with that patient netball. So I think it might start to open up a little bit. Look, I don't know which way.
Penalty count 24-17, by the way, in that opening quarter, the Vixens' way. The West Coast Fever led by as much as 3 in that opening term. But Stacey Rinkovich just having one last chat to her players before the second quarter gets underway. A crowd of a couple of thousand here at Brisbane Arena to put the full stop, the exclamation mark on this rather challenging Super Netball season. Who will take home the trophy?
I just love how great this crowd is. I mean, most people here would be from Queensland, but the strong support for both sides is unbelievable.
Netball atmosphere is always off tap.
Yeah.
We're lucky enough to cover Diamonds games, other grand finals. It is just fantastic. Here is the first and a pass of the second term. Maloney here. The Vixens are away. Eddie off to Watson. She feeds the ball in for Thwaites. Little feed back to Watson. Trying to just thrust the Vixens forward. Watson again sets up, finds Kumwenda. Dummies a pass, finds Thwaites. She's unmarked and she has the first of the second term. It's 16 apiece. Kosh for the Vixens, receives the centre pass, comes back to Anstis. Francis as well on the outer baseline. Back
Vixens,
inside here for Bruce.
Vixens back playing their really tight one-on-one defence. Every pass has got something on
it's
it.
been coughed up by Charles. Weston here for the Vixens comes up with it. Feeds a pass across the floor for Watson.
And that's what's created from the tight one-on-one defence. Just little errors in handling because the pressure is immense.
Maloney was uncertain. Goes back to find Weston, centre third. Now Weston back to Watson. Kumwenda, long way from home, feeds the ball in for Thwaites, and she can have back-to-back goals. The Vixens are ahead, 17-16. Maloney. Watson to Weston, right-hand side of the floor, taking the side of the transverse line. Thwaites receives it. There was a whistle on play here, so it comes back here for a Vixens possession. Maloney, Kumwenda, little 1-2, now a 3-4. Kumwenda sets up underneath the posts. A scoring run here for Melbourne to start the second quarter. 18-16, the Vixens lead. Right-hand side of the floor for Anstis for the West Coast Fever. Teague kneeled in the contest against Weston, and it was last touch Weston. So Anstis will inbounds the pass off to Kosh. Lobs in the ball here for Fowler. Her first look of the second term, and she makes no mistake. Back to 18-17.
Jo Weston has been involved in the last 2 centre passes with a touch and a pick-up, so I think she's ready to come. She wants to come and win this game.
So much experience on the floor. Aussie Diamonds, previous grand finalists, premiership winners. The West Coast Fever keen to avenge. Well, not avenge, but I guess make amends for the loss of 2 years ago against the Sunshine Coast Lightning. They had 13,000 that day at Perth Arena, and they were beaten on their own wood. Here's Teague Neal. Off to Fowler. Mannix had to stand aside, and Fowler levels things back up at 18 apiece. Centre pass comes back here for the Fever. Charles to Kosh. Francis goes down. She's looking a bit proppy on that right knee. Now Fowler, a long pass into Janelle Fowler, and she can pop it in from the right-hand side of the post. Fever have the scoring momentum now, 19-18. Maloney to Watson, to Eddie. Going to work their way forward to the transverse line here, the Vixens. Left-hand side of the floor. Comes to Thwaites. Dummies, comes back to the left now. Watson again to Thwaites. Back out to the left-hand corner. Kumwenda. Francis had a close watch on her. Gives away the infringement here. Kumwenda will sit up there. Hand in the face from Bruce. Comes over the top to Thwaites with a pass, and Thwaites is obliging. She pops it in. It's 19 all. 11 and a half to go in this second term. Kept alive by Eddie. Great work on the Desperate defence, the WD. Comes inside here for Watson. Kumwenda. Weston. Right-hand side, short pass. Little feet in here to Maloney. Watson goes inside the goal circle. A little too wide that time for Kumwenda. You can see just Kate Eddy a short time ago. This is not a decisive moment of the game, but every act in which you can keep possession is so important, and she knew that, and that was fantastic. And it results in Kumwenda popping in the goal as well.
And you're seeing the Vixens start to contest far more ball, and that's already resulted in quite a few turnovers for them.
Melbourne leads 20-19.
I think Fever need to now just up their contest pressure. They're playing with, there it is.
Bruce.
Courtney Bruce.
Great defence. Kumwenda was waiting for it. Bruce tipped it away. Charles comes up with it for the West Coast Fever. Back to Courtney Bruce. The captain comes up the corridor, if you like. Kai Charles picked off now by Weston.
Joe Weston.
So great defensive acts at either end of the floor here. Joe Weston off to Eddie, and now Maloney reaching for it. Just beyond the goal circle. In there all on her own is Kumwenda, and she makes no mistake. Vixens 21, Fever 19. Melbourne ahead by 2. That will be a timeout, I reckon, Zane Bojack.
Yeah, and what an opening to the second quarter by the Vixens. They've come out firing, haven't they? And look, there's no doubt about it. I mentioned at quarter time that the deflections would eventually lead to intercepts, and absolutely awesome intercept by Kate Eddy there. And look, I've got to say, both teams have got an intensity, but the Vixens just feel like they might have clicked into something, Gabby. It felt like halfway through that first quarter, they went, hang on, the Fever come to play today. I know it was 63-all last time round, but we need to go to our A game, and that's it. They really seem to have lifted their intensity. Yeah,
you can really feel that. And I think the difference is before they were just running with their players and happy to put their hands over, but now they're starting to get their hands in the line of the ball. Joe Weston's got a few pickups here. Kate Eddy has just ran through the ball and took that beautiful intercept from the centre pass. You can feel a really big shift, and what Fever need to do now is create that same shift, up their intensity and their contest pressure. Courtney Bruce just led the way just now. You're going to have to see them start running through the ball to win some more ball.
By the way, Bledisloe Cup getting underway shortly as well at Eden Park in Auckland. We'll keep you across live scores from that, or you can also find it via the ABC Listen app. There is so much sport happening at the moment here right across Australia, and we are lucky enough to be inside Brisbane Arena for this Super Netball Grand Final. The timeout was called by Stacey Marinkovic. We're back underway with the Vixens leading the West Coast Fever 21-19. 10:20 left before half-time. Francis a bounce pass up the right-hand side to Charles. Trying to make the way up over halfway now. Anstis back to Francis. Fever move the ball here. Emma Koch, left-hand side of the floor. Back into the centre third now for Anstis. Koch sets up in space in the corner. Gets rid of Mannix. Feeds the ball to Teagnell. Now Fowler as well. She's unmarked, and she sets up, and she can pop in the goal to make it 21-20.
Mannix wants to join the intercept crew. She's out for a hunt now.
Watson for the Vixens. Off to Maloney. Back to Kate Eddy. Gets rid of Koch. Gets rid of the ball as well with the pass to Watson. Now Kumwenda. Left-hand side of the goal circle. Kumwenda reaching. Did she keep her foot in play? Yes. Great athleticism.
What an incredible take. The ball outside, pulling it back in on one leg.
The Malawi international, the star of their team, has been so good for the Vixens as well. 22 points to 20 is the scoreline. Fowler on a heavy clash as well. Weston through the air. Fowler's come down. Weston's up to her feet.
Big collision.
Big physicality in this second term so far. The intercepts, the extra pressure just going to another level as Fowler receives a free possession. She pops in the goal, and she is still looking a little worse for wear at that other end of the floor. So play continues, but Janelle Fowler, who was... Sometimes she was sort of clutching her sternum or stomach when she came down, perhaps winded. Getting the wind sort of back into her lungs.
I dare say she'll be okay. She's pretty tough. The amount of hits that she takes during a game is pretty incredible. And now we're seeing the same thing at the other end. Some really strong contest work.
Vixens 22, Fever 21.
Caitlin Thwaites has hit the ground twice in the last 20 seconds.
Feeds the ball into Kumwenda here, right-hand side of the post, and it is in for the Vixens. Back to a lead of 2, 23-21, 8:20 left. ABC Grandstand Super Netball Grand Final. You can text us 0437 774 774. Let us know where you're listing. Say good day. Ask a question of Gabby Simpson, our expert here today. Francis to Kosh. Guarded this time by Eddie. Lodged in the pass for Teague Kneeled. Fowler had 2 to beat, did so, but we'll come back here for some contact. Teague Kneeled sets up and a hand in the face from Weston. She stands aside. Quick pass off to Fowler, who again is unchecked, and she responds to make it 23-22. It's the Vixens by 1 over the Fever. Waits to Maloney. Fast work from this centre pass here for Melbourne. Maloney in space. Top of the goal circle. Off to Thwaites. Little 1-2 here. She got the feed, gave it back. Lobs it back over the top now for Kumwenda. Lines it up, and in it goes. 24-22. They just keep that little buffer ahead by 2 here, the Vixens. Charles to Kosh. The Fever are away. Verity Charles judged the high ball really well, running forward. Now lobs it in for Fowler, and she can finish things off. Yes, gets a kind roll. 24-23, Vixens lead the Fever. Infringement from the centre pass, so we'll come back here for Eddie. To Watson. Kumwenda. She gets some contact from Bruce. Bruce stands aside. Kumwenda obliges. 25-23. Teague Kneeled. Back to Francis. Fever away from the centre pass. Kosh finds Fowler. Beaten this time through the air. Great work by Emily Mannix. The Vixens get it back. Weston. They start again from their defensive third.
When you're playing up against Janelle Fowler, any little touch that you can get, you've got to celebrate that. And Mannix did a great job there. Long
pass across the floor. Eddie Watson to Kumwenda. Comes back along the baseline for Maloney. Back inside the centre third now. Weston. Left-hand side of the floor. What's presenting for her? Finds Liz Watson. Lobs it in for Kumwenda. Great vision, great take, and a goal as well for Kumwenda. That is their best lead of the game so far. The Vixens 26, Fever 23. .550 to go in this half. Get to Zane Bojack very shortly. Maloney off to Eddie. To Watson. Setting up deep in attack. Waits to Kumwenda. She's giving her every look so far. Kumwenda makes no mistake again. So it's 27-23, a lead of 4. Zane Bojack on the sideline.
Yeah, I think that the Fever recognise that they need to do something different in their defensive line. Francis has just come off and Ariane's gone on there, and just maybe a different look, because at the moment the Fever shooters, they're putting them in at will.
Well spotted, Zano. Rolling subs always seem to get me with the relatively new rule, but this is a great shot from Teague Kneeled at the other end for the Fever. And she cuts it back to 3. Was at one stage for the Vixens' way. Through the air, Sunday Ariane. Couldn't prevent the pass from happening that time for the Vixens. And we're inside the power 5 of this second term.
That's what Sunday comes on and does. She flies at the ball. She won a lot of ball in that semi-final. I'm looking forward to see if she can reproduce that same performance.
28-24, except Fowler has a shot at the other end and makes it 28-25. So, again, no long-range attempts for the West Coast Fever. None from Janelle Fowler anyway. So Teague Kneeled, back to Anstis. Cross ball with the pass now. Kosh to Verity Charles. Sets up on the wing now. Comes in for Fowler, beaten by Mannix. Great defensive work here for the Vixens. Eddie back to Mannix. Eddie gets it back, centre third. Can they advance through Western? Yes, they can. She dummies a pass now. Eventually releases to Maloney. Taking side of the transverse line. Watson is there. Comes deep into the corner now for Kate Maloney. Back overhead to Western. Tipped away by Teague Kneeled. Vixens get it back though. Watson can set up. Waits top of the goal circle. Long way from home though. Vixens lead by 3. Watson goes to find Kumwenda. Again, reaching for that ball, low to her right, pops it in, back to a 4-point margin, 29-25, 3:40 to go before half-time. Verity Charles from the centre pass here. Sunday Ariane stops, pivots, looks at the options. Alice Teague Kneeled, bounce pass off to Emma Kosh. Kosh gets it back from the pass, right-hand side of the floor. Fowler receives it outside the goal circle, right-hand side. Can they cut this margin back here in the shadows of half-time. Kosh lobs it in for Fowler. Weston was put in her backside. Fever will keep possession, though. And it is a long-range super shot from Alice Teague-Neal.
She is so capable of shooting those shots. A lot of attention was being paid to her in the lead up to that shot, and she's worked her bottom off and has got that goal.
Margin goes from 4 to 2 on the back of that West Coast Fever super shot. 29 plays 27, 2:55 left here in the opening half. Watson, the quick feed into Kumwenda, and Thwaites had copped some contact. She receives the ball and lines it up as well. Super shot for Caitlin Thwaites. Margin back to 4, so a great response from the Vixens. 31-27. 2.5 to go in this second term. Kosh receives it through the air. Goes pretty high herself with the pass. Back to Fowler. Charles left-hand side. Gutted by a couple of Vixens defenders. Loose ball bounces back to Kosh. She gets it back here for West Coast. Charles over the top to Emma Kosh. Oh, it's tipped away by Kate Eddy. Great desperation. She won't keep it in play. So last touch Vixens. It's a Fever ball. Right-hand side baseline. Kosh goes through the air to find Fowler. She wins the contest against Weston, and Janelle Fowler can finish it off. Yes, she can. 31-28. The Vixens lead the Fever.
Kate Eddy was involved in everything in that play.
No such concern for her this year. She missed last year's grand final. There was, I guess, a bit of a late push for her to be fit for this game, and here she is, Kate Eddy, performing very well for the Melbourne Vixens. Liz Watson off to Kumwenda. Little 1-2 here. Kumwenda gets rid of Bruce. Lines it up from directly in front. Hand in the face from Sunday. Ariane doesn't trouble her. 32-28. The Vixens lead the Fever by 4. 90 seconds left in this half. Great to have your company, ABC Grandstand. Coverage of this Super Netball Grand Final. Kosh to Fowler. Gets rid of Weston. Lines up the shot here from in close. And the Fever respond. Margin back to 3. The Vixens lead. Minute 10 to go in this half of netball. Kumwenda back to Watson. Comes right hand side, attempt the bounce pass. It's deflected away here from Anstis. Great work from Jess Anstis. Charles could propel them forward. Lob pass forward here for Ariane. Kosh to Fowler. Sleek work. And Fowler can finish it off. 32-30.
Can it change the energy here? I think, you know, Fever have been a little bit flattered this quarter.
Their centre pass as well. So they get it back here. Teague-Neal to Anstis. Kosh, Fowler receives it up on her right-hand side. Steps in to line up the shot with a hand in the face from Mannix. Mannix has to stand aside, and Fowler has consecutive goals. The Fever just whittling away at this buffer. 32-31. 25 seconds left in the second term. This Super Netball Grand Final of 2020. Eddy to Watson. Comes wide to the right-hand side. Maloney off to Caitlin Thwaites. She's deep on that baseline. Misses the two-point super shot. Ariane gets it back. 8 seconds left here in this half of the West Coast Fever. They trail by 1. It comes to Teague-Neal. Out inside for Fowler. She must shoot from long range. If she got some contact from Mannix. She stands aside. Lines up the two-point shot. Fowler. And it's in! And we're back. The Fever will go into half-time with the lead. Just as the Vixens stole back. Well, I beg your pardon. The Fever got back the lead on the quarter-time buzzer. They do likewise again, the West Coast Fever. 33-32. Another hard-fought, combative quarter of netball here, Gabby Simpson.
Fowler just shot that goal and ran across the court with a little skip, high-fiving her whole team. Those moments are so huge in a game like this, especially when it's so tight. So the energy is now with the Fever.
At one point in that second term, the Vixens led by 4. They got to that mark a couple of times, but Janelle Fowler, why is it, Gabby, that she isn't conducive to the super shot? Why is she a reluctant super shooter?
Well, I think in terms of percentages of shots going in, you're always more likely to get it in when you're close to the post. And Janelle, for so many years, has had the luxury of shooting from 1 metre from the post. So that's where she's comfortable. But at the same time, she's always been capable of shooting these two-point shots. And I guess the introduction of the two-point shot has forced her to kind of stand up and say, hey, guys, I am capable of this. I just haven't had to before.
It may well be the extra little confidence boost she needs. She's already such a dominant player. 910 goals this season, the most in Super Netball history, of course, for Janelle Fowler. And that is valuable momentum for the West Coast Fever to go into the halftime break with a lead of 1. 33 plays 32. I'll get some stats very shortly, but Zane Bojack, how did you see the opening half from over there?
Oh, look, the Fever, it was just a couple of intercepts late there, wasn't it? Particularly a wonderful effort by Jess Ansers to get the ball back, so they score off a centre pass from the Vixens for the Fever. And then just at the end there, a wonderful defensive rebound picked up by Ariane. They go down the other end, and it ends up in a two-pointer for Janelle Fowler. They're the things that can win you a grand final. First year we've seen of the Super Shot, Gabby, but perhaps in the decider they're going to be even more crucial. Crazy to think the Fever got up by 4, and there was a number of times where they looked like they really had the momentum, but the Fever just managed to drag their way back into it. Yeah, absolutely. Grand finals are all about the little moments and how strongly they can shift momentum. And those moments you just mentioned there, that two-point shot is going to be a huge momentum shifter. But it's just about grasping those moments and making sure that you're the one that's going to step up for your team. And Janelle Fowler is putting her hand up and saying, I am happy to do that. Stats to half-time here. The Vixens had 54% of the ball as against the Fever's 46. 5 gains to 3, all up in the opening half of the West Coast Fever. 2 intercepts to 1. So there was that, I guess, defensive back for Courtney Bruce to affect the turnover. Jess Anstis got the only official intercept of the West Coast Fever stat sheet. 2 intercepts to 1 the way of the Vixens. Penalties for contact, 25-18 the Fever's way. Obstruction penalties, 15-3 the way of the Vixens. And general play turnovers, 6 apiece, which only serves to remind us how hard-fought this game is. It is a margin of 1 the way of the West Coast Fever. The form team of the competition up against the minor premier, the best team all year, the Melbourne Vixens. What does this second half have in store? Can't wait to bring it to you here on Grandstand via ABC Radio, Grandstand Digital and the ABC Listen app. Your texts are welcome as well, by the way, 0437 774 774. Elle from Perth just reminding me it is a goal line, not a baseline. Of course, thank you very much, Elle. I will do better in that respect. But it's just so much going on. You have to just adjust. And the atmosphere is immense inside Brisbane Arena. And I'm sure we'll see plenty of great attack and defence at either end of the court here on the goal lines for both of these teams. Time for us to have a breath because it's been an amazing opening half of netball. The second half is still to come. 0437 774 774 is the SMS number. Get in touch with us. But first, it's time for us to hear the latest from ABC News.
ABC News with David Rowlands. Melbourne's 5-kilometre radius rule will be extended from midnight tonight as part of an easing of Victoria's coronavirus restrictions. The 2-hour time limit for exercise and socialising will be scrapped, while groups of up to 10 people from 2 households will be allowed to gather outdoors. Hairdressers will be able to open from tomorrow, and outdoor real estate auctions will be allowed to go ahead with up to 10 people plus staff. The Premier, Daniel Andrews, says further Melbourne restrictions will be eased from November the 1st, with retail permitted to reopen, along with beauty and personal services.
If through the course of this week we see further low numbers and a sense of certainty in the stories and circumstances that sit behind each of those case numbers, there is an opportunity that we can bring forward the things that are scheduled for the 1st of November.
In regional Victoria, residents will be allowed to have 2 adults and their children as visitors into their home once a day. Residents will not be required to form a bubble with another household, but will instead be limited to 1 other family visiting per day. Regional hospitality venues will be able to increase their capacity to 70 people outdoors and a maximum of 40 people indoors. Non-contact indoor physical recreation for under 18-year-olds will be allowed again for a maximum of 20 people. Victoria recorded 2 new COVID cases today and no deaths. Meantime, the acting Immigration Minister, Alan Tudge, is demanding the Victorian Premier release correspondence relating to the state's position on passengers arriving from New Zealand. 17 New Zealanders who arrived in Australia as part of the travel bubble with New South Wales and the Northern Territory have boarded flights to Melbourne. Dan Andrews says he has made it clear to the Prime Minister that Victoria does not want to be a part of the travel bubble. However, Mr Tudge says there is evidence that Victoria was not opposed to the arrangements and it should be made public.
I would ask the Premier today to reveal those emails and any other correspondence which shows clearly and demonstrably that they authorised the people to come into Victoria.
There is one new case of locally transmitted coronavirus in New South Wales in the past 24 hours, and it's connected to a cluster in Sydney southwest. Danuta Kazaki has the story.
Dr Christine Selvey from New South Wales Health says the case is connected to the Great Beginnings Childcare Centre in Oran Park.
There are now 6 cases associated with this childcare centre and 19 in total in the Oran Park Community Cluster.
Dr Selvey says anyone who attended the centre between the 2nd and 13th of October has been told to get tested immediately and self-isolate regardless of the results. There were 4 new cases in hotel quarantine and nearly 13,000 COVID-19 tests were done yesterday.
Staying in New South Wales, and the Premier Gladys Berejiklian says she supports the introduction of a parliamentary compliance officer. The state opposition is calling for tighter scrutinies of MPs as soon as possible. It comes after the ICAC heard former MP Darryl Maguire sought payment over a property deal when he was in Parliament and was in a secret relationship with the Premier. Shadow Special Minister for State Walter Secord says speakers of both the lower and upper houses supported introducing a parliamentary investigator in 2017. The Queensland Labor Party has officially launched its state election campaign in Beenleigh, south of Brisbane today. Deputy Premier Stephen Miles says the government's handling of the coronavirus crisis is proof that it should be re-elected to also lead the state's recovery. He says Queensland's border closures and lockdowns have saved lives and mean the economy can rebuild faster.
We've been accused of putting health before the economy, but we now know that health has to come first. You can't create jobs in a lockdown. You can't find work when businesses are closed.
Television and radio personality Basil Zemplis has been elected Perth's Lord Mayor, part of a new council ending years without elected officials in the city. As Jessica Warriner reports, Mr Zemplis will be the first mayor since the City of Perth's multi-million-dollar inquiry.
With 7 candidates in the mayoral race, the City of Perth election was always going to be tight, and it came down to just a few hundred votes. After leading the count at various points throughout the night, former journalist Di Bain was overtaken by broadcaster Basil Zemplis at the finish line. Mr Zemplis arrived at Council House shortly after the mayoral result was declared and says he's ready to hit the ground running.
I pledge to work with all 8 councillors to the very best of my ability to get on and get cracking at what we need to achieve for the City of Perth.
You're up to date with ABC News.
ABC Reading Eggs has been helping Aussie kids like me learn to read for over 10 years. This award-winning reading program is perfect for ages 2 to 13, teaching letter sounds, first sight words, and simple sentences. Your child will learn to read and love to learn with ABC Reading Eggs.
Start your free 30-day trial today at readingeggs.com.au/ABC.
Charles gives it away, gets it back here, feeds the ball in now for Fowler, under the post, and the Fever are on the board first. Waits to Maloney, comes right across the top for Kumwenda, who pops it in. Waits lines up the 2-pointer. Waits, she is a long way out here for the 2-point shot, misses right on the quarter-time buzzer. And the West Coast Fever, who at one stage led by 3. In that opening term, they take a 16 points to 15 lead here at Brisbane Arena. Kumwenda, long way from home, feeds the ball in for Thwaites, and she can have back-to-back goals. The Vixens are ahead. Bruce, great defence. Kumwenda was waiting for it. Bruce tipped it away. Charles comes up with it for the West Coast Fever. Back to Courtney Bruce. Kyle Charles tipped off now by Weston.
Joe Weston.
So great defensive acts at either end of the floor here. Left-hand side of the goal circle, Kumwenda reaching. Did she keep her foot in play? Yes. Great athleticism.
What an incredible take. The ball outside, pulling it back in on one leg.
Gets up on the wing now. Comes in for Fowler, beaten by Mannix. Great defensive work here for the Vixens. To Watson, comes right hand side, attempt to bounce pass. It's deflected away here from Estes. Great work from Jess Anstis. Misses the two-point super shot. Ariane gets it back. 8 seconds left here in this half of the West Coast Fever. They trail by 1. It comes through Teague Nield. Now inside for Fowler. She must shoot from long range. If she got some contact from Mannix. She stands aside, lines up the two-point shot. Fowler and again. And we're back. The Fever will go into half-time with the lead. 33-32, the West Coast Fever lead the Melbourne Vixens. Half-time of this Super Netball Grand Final of 2020. Welcome back inside Brisbane Arena. Brett Sprigg alongside Queensland Firebirds captain and current Aussie Diamond Gabby Simpson. Zane Bojack is on the sideline. The Melbourne Vixens are back out in front of us doing their warm-up to get the second half underway very shortly. What a game still to come. Stay with us here. ABC Radio, Grandstand Digital and the ABC Listen app, whether it's through Victoria, WA, Tasmania or beyond. Great to have your company here on this Sunday. The Bledisloe Cup Game 2 is also happening at Eden Park in Auckland. The All Blacks have just scored a penalty against the Wallabies, and after 19 minutes, it is 3 points to nil. The All Blacks over the Wallabies at Eden Park, where the Wallabies haven't won for about 1,000 years. To keep you across what's happening with that, Zane Bojack, the atmosphere in here is just fantastic, isn't it? The Fever are back out on the floor. We saw some amazing, desperate acts from both teams in that first half, didn't we?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. They both want to win for various reasons. Neither side's won a Super Netball title, but I have to say, they've gone very close. You were there a couple of years ago, Spriggy, when the Fever were the favourites and they went down to the Lightning, and I think they're revelling in the fact that they're the underdogs this time. The Fever have just been talking to some of their management, and they've talked about the fact, I don't know whether you noticed, that there's black armbands on the Fever team, and that's because one of their long-time supporters has unfortunately passed away. So they've got motivation, not just their own playing group, from outside as well. And of course, for the Vixens, they just feel like they need to do it for their own general public. 93 days the Vixens have been away from their family and friends. They're contacting them constantly on FaceTime, finding them locked inside their own homes. Thankfully, as a result of those cases coming down, Daniel Andrews has said today that there's going to be less restrictions. You can even go out and play a game of golf or go and play some tennis, Spriggy. So if you're in Victoria, I'm sure you're very proud of your side, but they have got all of the pressure on them, the Vixens. And, of course, that other question I want to ask you, Gabby, Caitlin Thwaites and Tegan Phillip, the fact that they're retiring, sometimes it can be a distraction, can't it? Because, as we see Phillip actually warming up there, sometimes you want to do it too much for them rather than just going through the processes. And they were up by 4. I don't know whether it was defensive changes and the attacking skill of the Fever, or whether or not sometimes you can just lax yourself into that situation and thinking, okay, we've got this, and wanting it too much too.
Yeah, I mean, when you're playing in big games like this, you need to be playing for more than just yourself, and that the stories that you've just told for both Fever and Vixens is that extra bit that's going to get them over the line. And I guess for these two, particular for Tegan and for Katie Thwaites, I think they'll want to be putting their retirement to the back of their minds. The emotion around this game, the hype is big enough as it is, and when you are playing these games, you want to break it down into small processes. It sounds ridiculous, it sounds cliche, but you're playing each centre pass, you're playing that to the best of your ability, and the rest will take care of itself.
Zane spoke about what's at stake for both teams as far as just the fanfare and the support for both teams. The doing it for Victoria thing is the backbone of many a Melbourne-based sporting team. The Melbourne Storm have certainly embraced that. They're in the NRL Grand Final next week. The Perth netball fans in WA have been starved of success. They have generally not had super competitive teams in the various incarnations of the domestic netball competition. They got to that Grand Final a couple of years ago. Most of that starting 7 is the same. 5 of the 7. The only 2 missing, Nat Medhurst and Ingrid Collier, who would be there if not for the fact she suffered a knee injury last month. So that nucleus is still there. They are performing as well as ever. Are you surprised with the first half that we've seen so far, or did you expect such a hard-fought and tight game?
No, this is the classic grand final. Each player on this court wants to win this game, and it's going to be hard-fought to the very last minute. I've loved the way that this first half has unfolded. There's been momentum shifts. There's been individual players stepping up when needed. but you can really see the heart and the passion of every single player out on that court. That is what a grand final is all about. Who's willing to go that extra mile? Who's willing to put themselves in the dark place when it's needed to make sure that their team can get over the line?
I should mention our officials, our umpires getting the second half underway shortly. Georgina Sully-Beals and Nathan Begley. And they will hand the ball to Verity Charles to get the third quarter underway. Janelle Fowler, 26 of 27 in that opening half. Mwai 20 of 20 for the Vixens at the other end. Here they go. West Coast have the ball first. Teague Neild back to Anstis from right on the middle of the court. Goes to Charles. That was too hot that time for Kosh. Swatted away here. The Vixens get it back. Great work from Eddie. Coming up the floor now. Maloney to the right-hand side. Kumwenda tries to get the pass out in space for Watson. She arrives to get there. Lobs it back in here for Kumwenda. And that will be the first score of the second half. Vixens level things back up at 33 apiece. Maloney to Watson. Left-hand side of the floor here. Inside the attacking third. Kumwenda feeds it back outside to Watson. They set up here off to Thwaites. Right-hand side on the 45. Lobs it back to Watson up against that goal line deep in the corner. Comes back to Maloney. Up to Kumwenda. Traps it low to her left. And now straightens up and gets the roll as well. The Vixens with consecutive points here, 34-33. Charles, Teague Neild here, the West Coast Fever from the centre pass. Kosh almost lost it again. Mannix had a tip on that ball, but they'll get it back here, the West Coast Fever, because of that contact. Kosh to Fowler from right in front of the posts. They answer back, 34 apiece. Kate Maloney. The Watson. Oh, great work through the air. Anstis just tipped that ball out over the sideline on the outer side of the court. They inbound the pass here, the Vixens. It ends up with Thwaites. Top of the goal circle. Comes back out to the right-hand side. They set up here. Kumwenda had it tipped away from her by Bruce. Vixens get it back, though. Maloney to Weston. They trade passes either side of the transverse line. Bruce this time beats Thwaites, but will come back. Little overzealous contact that time from the Fever defence. Meantime, Watson goes inside to Thwaites, and she rolls it in. Vixens 35, Fever 34. Oh, and now Charles just takes a tumble after getting the centre pass away. Anstis back to Charles. She's quick to her feet. Bounced off to Ariane. To Anstis. Right-hand side of the floor, Ariane. Still in that middle third. Teague Neild lobs in that ball for Fowler. Through the air, she beats Mannix. Steps aside to the right-hand side, and they get it back level again, 35-35. Maloney to Watson. Right-hand side of the floor here for the Vixens. Can they get momentum back? Watson this time was too quick for Charles, and Charles gives a nudge on Watson. She goes inside to find Kumwenda. Hand in the face from Bruce doesn't trouble her. 36-35, the Vixens lead. Charles to Teague Neild. And the Kosh all over it. Back to the left-hand side. Teague Neild off to Fowler. Steps away from Mannix. Straightens up with the shot and gets the kind roll as well. 36 apiece.
I'm really loving watching the battle between Anstis and Liz Watson. Usually Liz will be the goal assist queen, and I think this game it's kind of been split around the whole of the Vixens side, so you could say Jess has done a really great job of really making the other Vixens players have to feed this ball.
Waits off to Maloney. Oh, Anstis coming through again with the intercept, but doesn't get clean possession. We'll come back here for Liz Watson. Waits, a little bounce pass off in close to Maloney. Rolled off her ankle. We'll come back here. Liz Watson, she was one of those players that played in that Trans-Tasman Championship in 2014, as was Kate Maloney. She lobs in the pass here. Watson feeds it in low here for Kumwenda. Left-hand side of the post, and it is in. Vixens 37, Fever 36. 11 to go, third term here at Brisbane Arena. This is the Super Netball Grand Final. Kosh off to Sunday Ariane. Coming wide from Teague Neild, back to Kosh. Some of the less experienced players in this West Coast Fever team, but you wouldn't know it. Emma Kosh has done some good things in this, certainly in the first half. Fowler receives the pass from her, and she responds to make it 37 all. 10:40. to go in this third term. Watson, high ball up here for Kumwenda, traps it to the left-hand side, straightens up with the shot. The Vixens just keep responding. 38-37, Teague Neal goes deep here for Fowler. She can line it up at the other end, and she responds as well. 38-38. Maloney centre pass here for the Vixens. Thwaites feeds it in low here. Watson ends up with it, taking side of the transverse line now. Maloney coming through the middle of the court. Little 1-2 here with Watson. They combine again. Maloney goes in high for Kumwenda. Back outside the left-hand side. The Watson. Kumwenda standing right-hand side of the goal line. Pops it in. 39-38 the Vixens. Here comes Verity Charles to Teague Neal. Chain of passes from the centre pass. Going deep for Janelle Fowler again.
Incredible take by Janelle Fowler. One hand in the air, holding off two players.
Yeah, I think Weston got some contact on her as well through the air, but it didn't trouble Janelle Fowler. So she makes good. 39-39. 9:25 left before three-quarter time. Very few things match the frenetic pace of netball, and netball grand final even more so. Watson off to Kumwenda. Kumwenda gets it back here, lunging all the way across to the left, and she pops it in from that goal line angle. 40-39, Vixens by 1. 9 minutes left in this third term. Teague Neal, first receiver from the centre pass, comes to Kosh. Dummies a pass, now goes up overhead to the left, back to Teague Neal, still a long way from home, bounce pass off to Charles. Teague Neal goes inside the goal circle. Kosh links up, Fowler goes through her fingertips, ends up with Weston. Vixens bring it away. Maloney from the defensive third now. Phillips involved in the action for the first time today. The retiring Tegan Phillip, along with Caitlin Thwaites. She's actually replaced Caitlin Thwaites for the time being. Kumwenda goes up, had a hand across from Courtney Bruce, rolls her eyes at the call from the ref. Kumwenda straightens up from the left-hand side and makes it a lead of 2 to the Vixens, 41-39. Tegan Phillip, first receiver from that centre pass. Maloney to Watson. Bounce pass off the field. Oh, it's picked off by Bruce.
Courtney Bruce.
Phillip ran around the back and Bruce was all over it. Fever go on the attack now. Teague Neal to Fowler. She holds strong despite the contact through the air from Weston, and Fowler responds for the West Coast Fever, making it 41 points to 40, but it's the Vixens who lead. However, West Coast Fever get it back here for their centre pass. Teague Neal to Kosh. Right-hand side to Charles. Little sidearm effort in towards Fowler, and she makes no mistake to level things back up at 41 all.
That was a big moment for Fever. They haven't won a bit of ball so far this, what do you call it? This quarter. I was going to call it a term.
You can call it a term.
Who am I?
Watson comes back to this. Watson to Phillip. Phillip lines up her first attempt of the day, and she is in. The Vixens are back ahead.
That is so great to see Tegan Phillip scoring goals in her last game.
Teague Neal did it stolen away from her on occasion by Liz Watson. I do say term when I use AFL parlance, and AFL fans say, stop calling the term, call it a quarter. So, you know, no one's ever really happy here. Kosh comes back to the left-hand side. Teague Neal back to Kosh. Here the Fever on the attack. They trail by 1. Charles back to Teague Neal. A little messy that time in there, and it's been lost by Charles. We'll get it back here, though, after the infringement from the Vixens. Teague Neal, bounce pass off to Kosh. She was offside.
Stepping, I think.
Oh, stepping. Quite right. There we go. There's the call from umpire Nathan Beckley. Maloney. Watson. Up to the right-hand side here for Phillip. Comes back inside that centre third for Eddie. Pass was too hot for Weston. We'll come back here. She got the contact on that occasion from her Fever opponent, Kumwenda. Back to Liz Watson, needs an option. Kumwenda gets in space, out the back here on the left-hand side, and pops it in for the Vixens. 43-41, Six to go.
Liz Watson is really starting to feed my beautifully in this quarter. A few more high balls going in. And Tegan Phillips just adds a whole different dynamic down there.
Goes out over the goal line here at the Vixens attacking end. It was off the West Coast Fever player. So Phillip lobs in the inbounds now. Watson to Kumwenda from right under the net. They lead by 3. Their biggest margin of this third term so far. The Vixens lead the Fever 44-41. Here's Charles for the West Coast Fever to Alice Teague-Neal. Anstis blocked by Watson.
Ooh.
They get it back here. Sunday Ariane for the Fever. Charles lobs it in for Fowler. She receives it right on the paint on the fringe of that goal circle. Teague-Neal sets up as they go inside for Fowler.
A flat ball going into Fowler on the hold.
Yes. 44-42. The Vixens by 2 after Janelle Fowler is on the board. Timeout called here by Stacey Marinkovic. So we'll see what she has to say to her team. Now, 55% possession on the game for the Melbourne Vixens. Intercepts 2 apiece in the game so far. Deflections 9-8. Now, deflections resulting in gains 2-1 the way of the West Coast Fever. So they've been very effective in that department. Penalties for contact 32-25 the way of the Fever. Obstruction penalties 16-5. Overall possession changes 10-9 the Fever's way. General play turnovers 9-7. Janelle Fowler has shot 35 of 36 here for the Fever. 97% all up in terms of regular 1-point goals, and she nailed that 2-pointer right on the half-time buzzer as well. So that gave the Fever a half-time lead. Since then, though, momentum with the Vixens at one stage led by 3 a short time ago. Margin currently 2, 44 plays 42. Your thoughts on things as they sit, Gabby Simpson?
Vixens definitely came out of the break really strongly, and one of those things when you're sitting in a change room and you think, what do we want to deliver? You want to win that first centre pass off the opposition, and they did that. They stole it from Fever in that very first centre pass, so that gave the momentum for the start of this quarter. But you get the feeling that Fever aren't going to just go away.
Bledisloe Cup, by the way, half an hour gone at Eden Park. All Blacks 10, Wallabies 7. Bathurst 1000 is going on as well. I've had a request for an update from that. Yeah, it's difficult sometimes with the racing because there's no such, I guess, moment here. Now, 5-point super shot territory. Kamwenda receives the pass from Phillip, sets up right-hand side but in close. Phillip gets it back. She steps back underneath the post and she pops it in. So it's back to 3, the Vixens lead. Yeah.
Great rebound by Mai Kamwenda. She gets so much height.
Charles off to Fowler through the air that time. She had Weston for company. Fowler forced it out over the goal line, so they get it back from the last line of defence. Mannix to Maloney.
Maloney is the heart and soul of this team, and she ran back from that throw-in with her 2 fists pumping. She's pumped.
Eddie
she
tips
has
the ball
a big feeling that this is a big moment in the game.
Kamwenda at the other end here for the Vixens to make it a lead of 4. They haven't gone beyond that mark all game. 4 points was their lead in that second quarter, the Vixens, and the Fever peeled them back. They get the centre pass here as well. Weston to Watson. From that middle third now, Maloney behind the transverse line, devoid of options, gets it back to Weston here. There was a hand in there from the West Coast Fever players. Watson receives it in close here from that free possession. Watson up over the top to Kamwenda to push it out to 5, and she does just that. Vixens 47, West Coast Fever 42. Anstis. Charles out there now in wing attack. Anstis is playing centre. And what's happened here, Gabby?
Joe Weston just took an intercept, but it was I think it was obstruction by Maloney, so it didn't count.
Fowler receives it from Charles, who's now wearing the WA bib. And not just to represent the home state of the West Coast Fever. She's at wing attack, so a little reshuffle there. Teague-Neal still on the floor. She's guarding Weston, but the Vixens move the ball ahead here. 47-43. At one stage, just a short time ago, the Vixens led by 5, and now Kamwenda lost it on its way into the goal circle. So the Fever will have possession from their defensive goal line. Bruce finds Francis. Ariane on the floor as well. She's got a fence, and so when the fence is Francis with that little reshuffle. Charles at WA and Akosh currently off the floor.
Alice Teague-Neal and Joe Weston are just all over each other. It's such a great battle.
Now Teague-Neal. Pass it back here to Francis. She sets up from the attacking side of the transverse line. Teague-Neal to Fowler. Fowler from the left-hand side. In it goes. So they get Back-to-back goals to make it 47-44. And a centre pass here as well for the West Coast Fever. Can they get momentum back? In it comes over the top from Charles to Fowler. Yes, indeed they can. They are rolling on here, the West Coast Fever. Melbourne 47, West Coast 45. 1:50 to go before three-quarter time. Here's Watson. Up over the top to Caitlin Thwaites. She's back out there. Phillip taking the sit. Back to Watson here. They set up through Thwaites. Top of the circle here for Watson. Kamwenda receives it. Little miscommunication, I think, there from the West Coast Fever defence. She had far too much room, Kamwenda, and she makes good here. 48-45. Vixens lead the Fever by 3. Long pass comes into the goal circle for Janelle Fowler, and from right under the post, she makes no mistake. Minute 10 left. Maloney off to Watson. The Vixens here from the centre pass. Out to the left-hand side. Eddie dummies the pass. Comes back here to Joe Weston. Up overhead.
Courtney Bruce is outside having a look for a bit of a hunt here.
They can't leave Kamwenda too much space. She wins it this time against Courtney Bruce. She tipped the ball out over the top into her left hand, controls it beautifully, and makes good here for the Vixens. 49-46. 40 seconds to go in this third turn. Charles traps it right on the transverse line now. Anstis comes to the left. Oh, Weston knocked that pass away before I get to Teague Neal. Teague Neal now deep in the corner. Up that goal line, she finds Fowler. Fowler just does as Janelle Fowler does and just scores goal after goal. 49-47, margin 2 here. Who takes this precious momentum into the last break here? Maloney comes wide to Watson. Kamwenda that time beaten by Sunday Ariang. She called Kamwenda for a step? No.
Just a contact.
The contact. So 2 seconds left. Time blown off. Kamwenda will have the very last say of this third quarter. And despite the fact the West Coast Fever have led out the first two breaks, 16-15 quarter time, 33-32 at the half, it is 50-47. At one stage, it was the Vixens who led by 5 in that third quarter. And it is currently a margin of 3 with an enthralling final term of this Super Netball Grand Final to come here on ABC Radio, Grandstand Digital and the ABC Listen app. This is Grandstand Netball.
Dear Mum and Dad, it's your dog Clancy, writing from the city.
Love Clancy is a new book for anyone who wants to know what their dog is thinking.
I'm making real progress training my humans. Just 70 repetitions. You can teach them almost anything.
Edited by Richard Glover, Love Clancy finally gives dogs the right of reply. All told with a dog's deep wisdom when it comes to what's important in life.
Until next time, love Clancy.
Book and audiobook available in bookshops and online. It's coming.
Bowles reverse sweep, strike on the patch, out for LBW. Hits it very high in the air. A chance for catch in the deep, and it's taken. Here she comes towards us, takes the catch.
The WBBL.
Comes down the track and hits it for 6.
ABC Grandstand, your home of the WBBL.
Hits it in the air, into the outfield, great catch. Comes down the wicket, gets a top edge, she'll be out, she is out.
On radio, Grandstand Digital, and on the ABC Listen app. Grandstand Netball.
Brisbane Arena is abuzz. 1 quarter to play of this 2020 Super Netball Grand Final. The Melbourne Vixens lead the West Coast Fever 50-47. Brett Sprigg alongside Zane Bojack, who is our sideline, and our expert is current Aussie Diamond Gabby Simpson. Gabby, your thoughts on our opening 3 quarters?
Well, it's been a absolutely fantastic battle. I'm loving the way that the momentum keeps shifting. Vixens have kind of grabbed the game a bit in that third quarter. My favourite thing is watching the dynamics of the teams, and as that final whistle went, all of the Vixens came together. Maloney had them in a huddle. I don't know what she said, but they came out with their heads nodding and they're looking pretty pumped for this last quarter.
Your texts are welcome as well. 0437 774 774. Let us know that you're cheering for your team, whether it's throughout Victoria, WA, or wherever you are, right across this great land and beyond, via ABC Radio, Grandstand Digital and the ABC Listen app. We'll get to some stats shortly. And the Bledisloe Cup, meanwhile, All Blacks 10, Wallabies 7 late in the opening half at Eden Park in Auckland. Zane Bojack, how are things at ground level?
Well, you could really feel the momentum shift in that quarter. Didn't they come to play, the minor premiers of the Vixens now with that 3-goal lead after being down by 1 at half-time? I noticed that Stacey Marinkovic, she really sat down 2 players in both Charles and also Teague Neal and just said, look, you guys have got to really move more. You've got to give yourselves some more options. She did mix it up in the mid-court. She's put Anderson to centre. Francis has gone back to wing defence and Charles into wing attack. And that's why Teague Neal's got to give herself, and particularly Charles, give her more options. So it's interesting to see. Fowler just keeps scoring, but it's that other support role that Teague Neal's got to play, whether or not Feather can get back into this one. But you just look down the other end of the court, the Vixens, they just look so calm and composed. I think it's heading their way. It's a big job to be done by the Fever in this last quarter.
15 minutes left of this Super Netball season. Everything that you do as a player all year, Gabby, comes down to these sort of moments, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And in these moments, it's the team that's willing to do something extra here. It's a team that utilises the passion and the heart and the connection that they have together that will get over the line. And you can really see and feel that connection in the Vixens team right now. And I'm interested to see the Fever. They're huddling right now to see how they come out of this huddle. They've got their arms around each other. They're really pepping each other up. I can see Charles is having a big bit to say as well. So Fever is a team with a lot of heart, and I don't think they're just going to say, here you go, Vixens, take this game.
No, can't wait to see how it all finishes up. Shooting has been immense in this game so far. Kumwenda, 97%, 35 of 36. Janelle Fowler, 40 of 41. That's in the standard goal or 1-point shot. So what further twists and turns are there to come in this Super Netball Premiership decider? It is the Vixens who lead by 3. The Fever will have the first centre pass of the final term. The last 15 minutes of this strange, challenging, unusual and hard-fought Super Netball season. Here we go. Anstis in its centre. Passes the ball in here. It comes from Charles to Fowler. And the Fever are on the board first, 50-48.
2 points is 1 turnover. This game is absolutely anyone's.
Every possession so important. Pass comes in for Kumwenda. She's a long way from home, though, outside the goal circle. Pass comes in for Watson. She lost her footing. A little starting it up now. Tangled up with Anstis on that occasion. Back to Thwaites. Thwaites looks for options overhead. Watson feeds it in, off to Kumwenda, reaching for it, pulls it in, back to Watson, reassesses here now for the Vixens. Thwaites, little 1-2, back to Watson, back to Thwaites now. She sets up from mid-range and rolls it in.
Hasn't the shooting been impressive? There's been barely any misses. No rebounds up for grabs, just straight through the hoop.
You would think that in a game like this, where pressure is at an all-time high, you wouldn't see such accurate shooting, but it's been tremendous from both teams.
World class, world class.
Francis to Teague Neal from the goal line across to the right-hand side now for Fowler, who responds. So back to a lead of 2 the Vixens way. 51 plays 49. Brett Sprigg alongside Gabby Simpson, Zane Bojack here for this grandstand coverage of the Super Netball Grand Final. Watson for the Vixens. The co-captain goes back to Joe Weston. Sends them forward. A long pass for Kumwenda. Back to Weston. They set up again now. Watson attacking side of the transverse line. Back to Maloney. So the co-captains combine now. Watson sends it up for Kumwenda. She beats Bruce through the air. Bruce must stand aside. And that will be another one for the Vixens. 52-49. 13 minutes left. Francis to Teague Neal. Fowler. Dummies a pass, needs an option here. Charles at the left-hand side. Leaves it in low here along the goal line for Teague Neal. Hand in the face from Mannix. Rolls out. Mannix gets the rebound. Feeds it back in. Teague Neal's waiting for it, though. There were no Vixens to mop up that rebound from Mannix.
Emily Mannix ripped that ball in, but tripped over Joe Weston's feet and ended up throwing it back to the Fever.
52-50. Vixens lead the West Coast Fever by 2. Thwaites. Maloney. Long pass overhead, cross court here to Weston. Watson into Thwaites. Right-hand side of the goal circle on the 45. Short feed off to Maloney. Goes in high now for Kumwenda. Bruce steps back here. Kumwenda comes up short. I think we spoke too soon about the shooting here, Gabby. And now she makes it count for the Vixens. They lead by 3.
We thought the pressure in the first 3 quarters was immense. The last quarter of a grand final, that is where the pressure is at.
It's all to play for here. Fowler receives it on the right-hand side. Sets up, it rolls out. She gets it back, though. Offensive rebound for her. Mannix must stand aside as well. And Fowler pops it in. 53-51. Vixens by 2. 11:45 to go. Away from the centre pass. The Vixens have possession. Maloney to Watson. Thwaites. Whipped it back out here to Courtney Bruce. All over Kumwenda. Desperate acts from the West Coast Fever captain. And she will have possession. For the team in green.
Waiting for that. She's been just trying to get her hands on those high balls, and she ripped that one in with 2 hands. There was no way no one else was getting that ball.
And it's just to Charles to Francis. Liz Watson's hit the deck. She gets up to her feet now. Sunday Ariane over the top. Now Fowler. Snatched it clear away from Weston. Lines up the shot and makes it a 1-point game. Vixens 53. Fever 52. 11 to go. Plenty of time, but every possession so important here. Teague Neal to Charles. The Fever back away from the centre pass here. Charles inbounds the pass here up overhead for Fowler. She beats Mannix again through the air and makes it an even ball game. 53 apiece.
I think I'm going to have to stop talking now. You got it from here?
10:45. Thwaites to Watson. Right-hand side now, Maloney. Weston shares it back to Watson. Devoid of options here. Comes back inside the centre third for Weston. Watson taking side of the transverse line now. It's Kumwenda. Comes up overhead for Maloney. A little tentative here, the Melbourne Vixens.
The pressure from Fever is immense, but the patience from Vixens is brilliant as well.
Defensive press continues here from the Fever. Vixens with the ball. Watson coming up that wing, gets it inside here to Kumwenda. She thinks about the shot, wasn't quite set for it. Comes back outside to Maloney. Very long time in their attacking third here. Watson into Kumwenda, and she did get contact from Courtney Bruce, so the Vixens will have a shot here. Kumwenda steps across, and it rolls in. So the Vixens recover the lead, 54-53.
There's patience and then there's hesitancy. I'm going to give Vixens the benefit of the doubt there. That was patience, but they need to make sure they keep letting the ball go.
Anstis up the floor for Teague Neal. Lobs it back overhead to the left-hand side. Anstis will get it back here after the obstruction. Teague Neal gets a little hand in there as well from Joe Weston. Feeds it off towards Fowler. She gets set for the shot and makes no mistake. It's 54 all. 9:20 to go in this Super Netball Grand Final, and we still have no clue who our champion will be. Maloney off to Eddie. Contact that time from the Fever player, so Eddie sets up here from the transverse line. Phillip in attack now. She's on the floor for the Melbourne Vixens. Weston to Maloney, back to Watson. Tegan Phillip gives it back here. She lines up her shot. She's a crowd favourite, all right. Tegan Phillip. And she puts the Vixens back ahead, 55-54.
Phillips coming back on the court has added that little bit of extra movement down there.
Charles. Verity Charles for the West Coast Fever. The left-hand side at wing attack. Comes to Teague Neal, edge of the goal circle. Has some support with Fowler. Fowler lines up the shot. It's up and in. It's 55 all, 8.5 to go. Maloney to Phillip from the centre pass. Comes back to Joe Weston. Vixens on the attack, but again, Fever just continuing that defensive press. And Ariane may have infringed here. It comes back for Watson. Feeds in the pass. It was a long pass in for Phillip. Top of the goal circle, Maloney at centre. Now off to Kumwenda. Hand in the face from Bruce, but it's nothing but net. 56-55. Anstis, infringement here from the centre pass. So comes the West Coast Fever's way. Teague Neal to Fowler, who's just doing it all herself here. 56-56. You can put this team on the shoulders of Janelle Fowler at the scoring end, that's for sure. But it's been a good team effort so far in defence with the Fever. They are going with the minor premiers. But the Vixens don't seem too concerned. Watson feeds the ball in here to Kumwenda. It's in for the Vixens, 57-56. 7:25 left in the grand final. Answers to Charles. They choose the left-hand side of the court here, West Coast. Coming back to Francis. Charles, fatigue kneeled. Charles, another high boy over the top here. Fowler got some separation on Mannix and right on the goal line, pops it in, 57 all. Well, the Power Five may decide this premiership. We've still got a couple of minutes left before then. Watson, Kumwenda, beat Ariane through the air. Left-hand side, lines it up here, rolls out. Bruce was dragged down by Kumwenda. Couldn't get the rebound, but it will be a Fever possession anyway by virtue of the Vixens' missed shot.
Courtney Bruce and Mike Kumwenda, the way that they fight for the ball, there is arms grabbing each other's shoulders and hips, and because they're both doing it, you've just got to let it go.
Umpire blows time off. 6:45 on the clock. Melbourne Vixens 57, West Coast Fever 57. You are living this experience with us right across Australia and beyond.
The pressure in these moments is so immense, and it's going to be so cool to see who puts their hand up, who wants the ball, who wants to be involved.
Copped the shove, I think, from Watson, so we'll come back here for a Fever ball from their defensive third. Up the right-hand side, Charles pushes the pass out towards Teague Kneeled. Fowler got rid of Mannix, comes back to the left now, Anstis. Back to Teague Kneeled, thinks about the shot, thinks through of it, goes to find Fowler instead, and Fowler puts the Fever ahead.
This goal is so important. If you can get the next goal in, then you're up by, 3? So it just puts the pressure on the Vixens in that power shot time.
Just over 6 minutes left. It's the West Coast Fever who lead by 1. Teague Kneeled. Back to Francis. Fever in possession. Kneeled. Lines up the shot from long range and it's in. And it's, if nothing else, nice practice for the super shot. We're 45 seconds shy of that last 5 minutes, but the Fever are ahead by 2. Kumwenda off to Phillip. She thinks about the shot. Has better support there with Kumwenda, and Kumwenda can make it count. Feels like the first Vixens goal for a while. Margin is 1. The Fever lead. Anstis from the centre pass. Finds Charles at wing attack. Francis. Long chest pass across the floor. Back to Charles, and now Teague Kneeled. Just forward of the attacking transverse line now. Charles lobs it in for Fowler again. She beats Mannix. Mannix, not much you can do about that. And Fowler makes it count. 60-58. We're approaching the Power 5. The last 5 minutes. Shots are worth 2 from that super shot zone. 5 minutes left now. There is the signal. Kumwenda lines it up though for a 1-pointer. Margin is 1. Fever 60. Vixens 59 off the back of that Kumwenda shot.
Here we go.
Every pass is so important from now. Charles lobs it into Janelle Fowler. Left-hand side of the post. It rolls in. It rattled around. Will it drop for Janelle Fowler? Shooting at 98% this afternoon. 4.5 left in the grand final. Fever by 2. They lead the Melbourne Vixens. Here's Weston from right on halfway to Maloney. Now spots up Watson. Over the transverse line now. Kumwenda got some contact from Bruce. She'll march her towards the top of the goal circle. Thwaites lines it up here. Kumwenda is unmarked, and she pops it in for the Vixens. 61-60, the West Coast Fever lead. 4 minutes left. Don't go anywhere here on ABC Grandstand right across Australia. Charles involved. Inbounds the pass. Back to Francis. Stops. Pivots. It's been picked off by Kumwenda. Now Watson. The Vixens are away.
My heart rate is so high right now.
Ali Smith has just checked in as well for the Vixens. She played in that game last week for Kate Eddy, who was ruled fit to play today. But Ali Smith, what a way to get your first little bit of this grand final in the last 4 minutes. 3.5 to go. Maloney into Thwaites from long range. She lines it up and it rolls out. Kumwenda gets it back. Great offensive rebound. Vixens Maloney over the top to Watson. Kumwenda got some separation on Ariang. Now she lines up the one-pointer and it locks it up at 61 apiece.
That is a big moment, and that was a full team moment from the Vixens. They almost got the held ball, and then they got the loose ball pickup from Y in the goal circle.
And it's Melbourne centre pass as well. Thwaites back to Weston. Watson keeps it moving. Kumwenda lays it off out by hand to Watson. Thwaites steps from long range. Can she make it count? It bounces off the post and in.
Caitlin Thwaites wants to win this game. She wants the ball in her hand.
63-61, the two-point shot gives the Vixens that decisive little break. 2:45. Fever can find their way back in. Charles finds Fowler. Some support with Teague Neal. Right-hand side, got some contact. She sets up here from the super shot zone. It's now or never here for the Vixens, and Teague Neal responds. 63 apiece, just as it was the last time these teams met, although it's not yet full time. 2:20 to go. Watson, Maloney, attacking third here for the Vixens. Watson sliding through, gets possession. Lined up here from Kumwenda, and she drops it in. 64-63, Vixens by one. Anstis from the centre pass. Teague Neal, Fowler. Tangled up that time with Mannix, has the better of her though. Fowler lines it up.
Who is going to take the two-point shot to win this game? It either comes down to an intercept or a two-pointer.
64-64, 150 left. This is the Super Netball Grand Final of 2020, and what a finish coming up. Watson to Smith for the Vixens. Maloney just forward of the transverse line now. The umpire spotted some off-ball contact perhaps. Watson here to Kumwenda. She is unmarked in the goal circle, and she puts the Vixens ahead by one. 90 seconds left, 65-64. Brisbane Arena is rumbling. Charles from the Fever centre pass. Oh, Francis, little passing close. Charles to Teague Neal, they work it forward. Charles in space, did well to get there. Fowler got the push from Mannix in the super shot zone. Off to Teague Neal, she lines it up and it rolls out.
Oh
she misses.
Goodness,
1 minute, 9 seconds left. Fowler gets it back from the rebound, does she? No. It's a Vixens ball.
Oh.
Vixens play. Minute to go.
Maloney is pumped. She knows all they have to do is keep possession here.
Vixens lead by one.
But they have to keep going forward. They can't muck around with it.
Watson to Weston. Thwaites finds Maloney. Left-hand side of the floor. In the attacking third now.
45 seconds.
Back to Watson. Thwaites to Watson. Thwaites again. They trade passes. The Fever defence under all kinds of pressure. Weston has it. 35 seconds left. They can't simply hang on here, the Vixens. They lead by one, 65-64. Maloney back to Watson.
They are happy to play this ball around. They're going to wait.
3 seconds. Maloney, right-hand side into Thwaites. Off to Watson. They can't give the ball up here. Watson to Thwaites. Watson, Kumwenda receives it. Got separation on Bruce.
That's the game right there, Vixens.
66-64.
Oh.
It has been an absolute heart-stopper. But Melbourne's got a winning team. The Vixens.
That is huge.
The Vixens do it for Victoria. And they are the 2020 Super Netball champions. 66-64. Grand final heartbreak for the second time in 3 years for the West Coast Fever. But there is sheer elation, raw emotion, plenty of tears on the face of Caitlin Thwaites, Tegan Phillips, the retiring players, but the rest of this Vixens team. It is just the most raw display of emotion, and they have deserved this Super Netball title. Winners by 2 over the Fever in the Premiership decider.
The emotion is just incredible right now. You can see how much this means to them. A grand final win. They've been so close so many years, and they have grabbed this opportunity. They've taken the pressure. Caitlin Thwaites, Tegan Phillips, there's tears. It's just incredible. Oh.
Their first title since 2014, their first of the Super Netball era, the Melbourne Vixens. They have taken all before them in this most challenging of years. They're doing it for sports lovers back home in Victoria. That is the perfect way to cap off what has been a most extraordinary season with an unbelievable grand final. The players are shaking hands.
What a brilliant game of netball. I mean, Fever just would not let go. They pushed and pushed. Alice Teague-Neal put her hand up and said, I'm going to take this too. And the desperation of Joe and Joe Weston and Mannix to get that rebound off Fowler. Incredible.
We'll do our best to get some reaction as well from Zane Bojack, who's on the sideline. The players have all linked arms, players from both teams. It was just a most fitting occasion to see off this season. Caitlin Thwaites is still crying, her face bright red. But it's a big smile as well. It is just an unbelievable way. Netball deserved a finish like this for this Super Netball season. Credit to the West Coast Fever, but the Melbourne Vixens deserved premiers in the 2020 season. Zane Bojack, I think you've got someone with you at the moment.
I haven't yet. I was just hoping to get Janelle Fowler. We might be able to see if we can get Verity Charles.
Yeah.
Actually, Jess, can I have a quick chat to the ABC? Jess Antis? Here we go. We've got Jess Antis here. It's very nice for her to join us. Jess, tell us, mate, to go down by such a small margin, you guys really put it to the Vixens. How do you feel right now?
Yeah, shattered, to be honest. We gave it our all, and yeah, shit result in the end, really.
You guys really tested them at both ends. Do you feel like you brought your best performance today?
I think we could have done a little bit better to get ourselves across the line, but we didn't in the end, so here's what it is.
Explain how tough it's been being in a hub here in Queensland, so far away from your friends and family back in WA.
Yeah, I guess it is tough, and it would have been much better if we got the win today. It would have made it worth it, but I'm proud of the girls to make it to the grand final, but we still need to go that one more step.
And your coach, Stacey Marenkovic, what did she do after round 6 to turn your season around?
We drew a line in the sand, and from there we just literally didn't look back, and we really stuck to our game plan and took individual accountability.
Well, you should be very proud of yourselves. Thank you for being part of an epic grand final. Jess Antis, thanks for joining us on Grandstand.
Well done, Jess Antis. Thank you, Zane. Yeah, Jess Antis. It's always hard, I'm sure, for the players in these situations to give up their time and have a chat to the broadcasters. So well done for having a chat to us there, Jess Antis. We'll get some winners' reaction as well. The Vixens are still just circled up with their coach, Simone McInnes. Who's your tip for MVP?
Oh, MVP, what have we got? I think Joe Weston had a great game. I think we didn't speak much about Maloney, but she was really, really strong. She really stood up in terms of making sure she was there for every single pass. Maybe you go Katie Plates with those 2-point shots at the end there. Stands up when it's needed.
And Kamwenda's composure early on as well, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that I could name most of the Vixens team says that it took everyone to win that game, and it always will in a grand final. There's never going to be one person that'll win it.
Wrapping things up here from this Super Netball Grand Final. Zane Bojack, it's all yours.
I've got the woman of the hour, Caitlin Thwaites. Massive bomb, and also you go out a winner, Caitlin.
Yeah, thank you. We're very, very proud. That was Fever made us earn absolutely every inch of that game. We knew it was going to be a really hard slog. And we stuck to our processes. We knew it was going to be a grind, and absolutely was right to the end.
What's it like for you and Tegan and the pressure coming in knowing it was your last game?
Yeah, I think we're all about team first and what we needed to do for the team. So today we've just tried to put that to the back of our minds a little bit because we've had a job to do. And now that job's done, now we can get out there and celebrate with the girls.
Just make up for last year not being able to win the gold medal over in Manchester?
Look, I think they're very different things. But this one will... It's going to be very, very special in terms of, what we've had to go through this year to get to this point.
Yeah, and talking about that family and friends at home, how tough has it been for you knowing that, they're locked in their houses and they're watching every game of netball because that's all they can do?
Well, we've never felt so much support, for the netball. They've gotten right behind us and we absolutely love them for that. And we hope that we've, given them some light and some enjoyment as well, a bit of distraction.
What's the next chapter for Caitlin Thwaites?
I'm going to kick my feet up for a bit and celebrate with the girls, and we'll figure that out later.
Oh, good on you, Caitlin. Thanks for chatting to us.
Well done. Great stuff, Zano. The embraces continue for the Melbourne Vixens. We now huddle away, far away from our ABC microphones, so it is It is great to see. Off the text, by the way, 0437 774 774. Being a Geelong Cats fan, I never thought I'd be saying Cairn West Coast. Jamie driving a triple road train near Meekah Tharra. Great listening to your call. Thank you for that. Jamie, and your grand final is, of course, next week. The Cats and the Richmond Tigers in the AFL. Thank you for your exciting call. Our wonderful Vixens. Go Victoria, Denny in Mildura. Yeah, that's the sentiment they were certainly after. And they are doing a little lap of the court now before the presentations, just acknowledging the crowd. Getting a round of applause from the locals here at Brisbane Arena. The Melbourne Vixens, who are so strong, so dominant throughout this 2020 Super Netball campaign. Winners by 2. And it's fantastic that Joe Weston's given a hug as well to Gabby Simpson. Well, the bubble's over now, isn't it? So, you know.
That moment, the final whistle, the bubble was done.
There you go.
I think the biggest thing you can see here is the pure elation that comes at the end of a grand final for one team, and just the absolute deflation on the other side of it.
Yeah.
So much goes into this season, and gosh, the contrast is just huge.
Yeah, the Fever will just be sitting and watching this presentation go on, but I'll try and bring you some more reaction if we can from the other side of the floor in the meantime. But what a finish it was, 66 to 64. The retiring Caitlin Thwaites and Tegan Phillip bow out winners. And it is just a really special moment here for these Melbourne Vixens. And
incredible.
Yep.
Zane Bojack, it's all yours.
I've got Joe Weston here. You come up with some incredible intercepts there. You just kept deflecting. In the end, it paid off.
Yeah, it's always really tough when you come up against the Fever because they can score so easily. And yeah, towards the end, I think, yeah, I don't even know. I can't even describe it.
How do you just describe the fact that you've had to be away from home 93 days up in Queensland? When you first come up here, you thought, oh, you're for 4 weeks, and now you walk away with the title.
Yeah, it's actually crazy. We had a really strong team this year, and we had some really great results, and to really deliver when it counts is just, yeah, it's pretty amazing.
And Joe, look, you've got to get yourself ready for Diamonds Camp now. Do you feel like the fact that you get the chance to win the title and maybe make good on not only last year with the World Championships, but also the Constellation Cup coming up shortly?
Yeah, I actually think that's why I'm so... Obviously, it's very exciting, but I think that's why I'm so emotional. After our Com Games and World Cup defeats, we all took that pretty badly. And, yeah, just to finally win in a really close game as well, it feels so surreal.
And you guys have been minor premiers before, but this time you actually followed through, won your final against the Lightning quite handsomely, and actually won the game. Do you feel like it actually gives the rest of the playing group that confidence going forward you can create a dynasty?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. It seems like forever ago. We won in 2014. And, yeah, Victoria's always had a really strong culture of winning and elite performance. So, yeah, hopefully we've got some great young talent. As you saw, Ali Smith stepped out in court in the dying minutes and, looks nothing out of place.
We spoke to Caitlin Thwaites. She's obviously excited. But what does Caitlin Thwaites and Tegan Phillip mean to Joe Weston?
Oh, I mean, not just to me specifically, but probably to everyone, Tegan especially has had such a long and outstanding career with the Vixens. She was outstanding in that 2014 premiership win and as well with the Diamonds. And, Caitlin Thwaites, she's a Victorian through and through, and she hasn't always had the easiest road in terms of on-court success and even, her position within the Diamonds, but she's always been a team-first person and, she's so emotionally intelligent. And I think to send both of them out on a high is just amazing.
And like Comwenda just worked past it. How big a contribution has she made to your victory?
Yeah, MJ's such a star out there on court. She's got such a unique way of playing, and her and Courtney had a really great tussle out there today, and it was so amazing to see her, stand strong. She's never played in a premiership before, so that's really exciting.
Well, I think the presentations are about to start. Can I just say to you, thank you for chatting to us. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
And I hope you enjoy the celebrations. And when you get back to Victoria, I know they're going to be tempered a little bit, but I hope that you're able to properly celebrate it down there as well.
Yeah, I'm actually not sure. I think we've got Diamonds Camp and then a few of us are planning on staying up. My best friend from school actually lives in Queensland, so I'm planning on spending some quality time with her outside of our hub regulations. So, yeah, I'm not sure, but hopefully as soon as possible.
Good on you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zane. Thanks to Jo Weston. She was a premiership winner in her debut year of 2014. One of those Aussie Diamonds mates of yours, Gabby Simpson, and yeah, she's certainly a lot to be proud of as well. The Melbourne Vixens winners 66-64. Presentation not too far away from getting underway with Bianca Chatfield, our MC. And it was consolation applause for the West Coast Fever as they made their way off the bench and lining up to the left-hand side of the court. Balling. Gosh, driving back from Benalla to Mildura, had to pull over, feeling so proud of the Vixens, so proud of all Melburnians. We are right behind you all. Hang in there. Now need the mighty Tigers to bring it home as well. Yeah, appreciate your texts, 0437 774 774. And we'll be with you for another little while, at least until 1:30 local time. As we wrap things up here from this Super Netball Grand Final. Brett Sprigg alongside Gabby Simpson and Zane Bojack.
I'm still recovering.
Yes.
I'm trying to talk, but I'm just trying to soak in all the emotion of everything that's unfolding here. As the Vixens walk around and the crowd just completely embraced them and really gave them the applaud that they deserve. This year has been like no other.
Yep.
And it's coming to an end. This is the moment, and that finish to that game was just so fitting.
Up next, it'll be Corbin and Ben with Brendan Goddard today on ABC Grandstand at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight, or 12:30 p.m. in the West. Guests are Nat 5, Tom Bell-Chambers, Johnny Took from DMAs, who of course are playing at the AFL Grand Final. Do you like DMAs, Gabby, the band? Simon Black will also join them. That's coming up next for most of our audience, staying with us through Victoria, Tas, WA and on Grandstand Digital. But so final thought for MVP. Lock in a tip.
Gee. Well, obviously Janelle Fowler was incredible, but it's got to go
waiting
to
the
someone.
winning team, don't you?
Yes, it's absolutely got to go to the winning team. You know, I think I'm going to go with Maya Kamwinda. Her consistency, she kept Courtney quite quiet.
Yep.
And she just chipped away. She was always available. Final intercept on the transverse line to her too.
And that huge moment, though, from Caitlin Thwaites, that clutch super shot in a defining moment of her career. Here's her MC, Bianca Chatfield.
Incredible match we have just witnessed between two world-class teams. A fitting conclusion to what has been an extraordinary Suncorp Super Netball season. This was the last of 60 matches, played within only 78 days in what is a season I'm sure none of us will ever forget. Two teams that should be really commended on their enormous effort to make it into the grand final today. We've seen both teams sacrifice so much, such a tough challenge, moving away from home, playing multiple games in a week and producing some of the most skillful, intense netball that we have ever seen. But there can only be one winner, and today they have capped off a stellar season. 93 days away from home, winning the minor premiership and now taking out their first Suncorp Super Netball Championship. Congratulations to the Melbourne Vixens. To get the presentations underway, I would like to welcome Super Netball League CEO Chris Symington, Suncorp General Manager Chris Fleming, Nissan Australia Northern Region General Manager Dale Robbins. As I'm joined by this group, I would like to pass on a big thank you to our principal partners Suncorp, broadcast partners Nine and Telstra, and the great family of league and club partners, including major partners Nissan, HCF, Origin and Deakin University. All of our partners have played such a pivotal role in getting this season off the ground. And we also need to make a special mention to Tourism Events Queensland and the Queensland Government for making Queensland a home away from home for so many of us this season. They have really kept the season alive. And to all of our netball fans here and at home watching, we say thank you. We know this season has been like none other, and we really appreciate all of your support supporting this best netball league in the world. You truly are the heartbeat of this great game. To start the awards presentation, I'd like to call forward Super Netball League CEO Chris Symington to present the umpire medals. First up, Georgina Sully-Beals. Nathan Begley. Bronwyn Adams. Just like the players, our umpires have stepped up in 2020, not only making enormous personal sacrifices to make the season happen, but doing it in a season with multiple rule changes. Thank you to every umpire who has officiated and to all of the bench officials for the work they have done throughout the entire season. I would like now to hand over to Suncorp Executive General Manager Chris Fleming to say a few words.
On behalf of Suncorp, I just want to say a massive congratulations to the Melbourne Vixens. What a win. And also congratulations to the West Coast Fever. Thank you for putting up such an amazing fight. What an amazing game to watch today. A real pleasure. Our chairman, Christine McLaughlin, would have loved to have been here today, but unfortunately, with border restrictions, that wasn't possible. But to the players, to the staff, to the officials, to the teams, your passion, your dedication on the court, combined with the sacrifice that you and your families have made this season, has delivered an excitement, a belief and a positivity at a time we all needed it most. So on behalf of so many people, I say a big thank you. To Netball Australia and Suncorp Super Netball, thanks for making this happen and bringing it to life. But last of all, Suncorp's home state of Queensland and all the local communities who have rallied behind this competition to make it what it is. A big thank you. We look forward to seeing all of you out and about and back on the court in 2021. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much, Chris. I'd now like to ask Dale Robbins from Nissan Australia to step forward and present the Nissan Player of the Match.
Afternoon all. The Nissan Most Valuable Player from the Melbourne Vixens is their goal shooter, Marwe Kumwenda.
47 and 50, 94% shooting on the day. Certainly a deserved recipient for Grand Final Player of the Match honours.
Congratulations. While it didn't go their way today, they did put up a great fight. One of the best finals we have ever seen, and it's testament to their resilience. I would like to welcome West Coast Fever captain Courtney Bruce to the stage to say a few words.
Firstly, I just want to thank all the sponsors, so Nissan, Origin, HCF, Suncorp, for getting us through this year's season 2020. We didn't know if it was going to go ahead, so to Channel 9 and Telstra 2, thank you for all the support. To the Melbourne Vixens, you guys have been the standard all season, and if we wanted to be the best, we needed to beat the best, and you put a phenomenal performance out there today. To Tees and to Katie, I'm so proud of everything that you guys have done, and you have champions of the sport, and you'll leave the sport in a better place, and I wish you all the best for your futures. To the Fever sponsors in UWA Live Lighter and Gold Industry Group in particular, thank you for our support and getting us through this season and for looking after us whilst we've been over here. To the girls, to Stace and the staff, we have given up so much to be here, and we kept growing this year. 2020 threw us lots of highs and lots of lows, but I'm so proud of all the effort that we've put in and how far we've come. Bring on 2021. Thank you.
Yeah, well said.
Well said,
Courtney
Courtney.
Bruce.
Now let's turn our attention to what all of the Vixen supporters here and, of course, at home in Victoria have all been waiting for. I'd like to welcome Vixens coach Simone McInnes to present each Melbourne Vixens player with their championship medal.
This will be a great moment for her as well. Simone McInnes overlooked for the Diamonds coaching job in favour of Stacey Marinkovic.
First up, Katie Ann Dehaney. Kate Eddy. Taylor Honey. Player of the match, Mwai Kumwenda. Elle McDonald. Emily Mannix. Tegan Phillip. Ali Smith. Caitlin Thwaites. Joe Weston. And their co-captains, Kate Maloney and Liz Watson. And Kate and Lizzie, I now want you to present your coach with her medal. Kate and Lizzie, the microphone is yours.
I think this is the first time I've ever been lost for words. First of all, I'd just like to thank Courtney, Stacey and the whole Fever team. You guys have been the most informed team in this last part of the season, and it's a credit to you guys, the game that we'll be able to put out today, so thank you. I'd like to say a massive thank you to the Queensland government. As Victorians and everyone in this league, we didn't know if it was going to go ahead, and the Queensland government has made it happen. And to every single Queensland supporter here who came and supported Fever, Vixens and our own supporters too, we thank you so much for the support. To the major sponsor, Suncorp, you guys have backed netball for so long. You enable us to get out on court and play the sport that we love and to support a female sport. So thank you very much, Suncorp. To Netball Australia and the whole SSN team, I don't know how you did it. I don't know how you got this competition going, but we are so thankful to be able to get out on court, to play this sport, and yeah, thank you so much to Netball Australia and the SSN team.
Now Liz Watson.
Just a really big to the umpires, bench officials and all the volunteers, especially the volunteers. You've definitely made us feel like home away from home, so thank you very much. To the sponsors of Netball Victoria and the Melbourne Vixens and just the whole netball community back home, we know that you guys are doing it really, really tough, and to all those little kids at home who didn't get out on a netball court this year, we realise that we're the lucky ones, and hopefully you've had some enjoyment watching us, and we just can't wait to get home and celebrate with all of you. So thank you so much. And a big thank you to our family and friends at home. You guys made this possible, and everyone across every team has made sacrifices to be here, but the family and friends and those loved ones at home have definitely kept us on the road, and we just can't wait to get home and give you all a big hug, really.
And last but not least, we want to thank our team. You guys jumped on a plane about 3 months ago. Simone, you set the standard right from the start. You said things are going to get thrown at us and we're going to embrace them, and why not us? And it's pretty special to be able to stand here. And last but not least, to our amazing goalers in Tegan and Caitlin, you have been
the loudest cheer of all for Caitlin Thwaites and Tegan Phillip.
But for Australian netball as well is an absolute credit to both of you, and we are so lucky to have you both in our team. So thank you very much, guys, and thank you to everyone who came out and supported us.
Well done, Melbourne Vixens, 66-64 winners of this Super Netball Grand Final of 2020. Thank you very much to you, Gabby Simpson, for joining us. It was
Thank you
fun.
for having me. It was fun.
So much fun to watch and see an event such as that, as Coach McInnes, the two co-captains lift the trophy. Thanks to Zane Bojack, thanks to Peter Scott, our tech, and to Bridget Lacey back in the studio. The Vixens are Super Netball champions. Coming up next on Grandstand, it'll be Colin Middlemass and Ben Cameron for most of our audience. Thank you for joining us from Brisbane Arena.